Chapter 12:18. I'm going to the toilet. Can't I? When Li Fan spoke, he was a little angry. You can urinate, but you can't walk. Takeda Lan reminded him, your calf has a comminuted fracture. You can't move it casually. Be careful of dislocation and it will cause a lifelong disability. You're a girl. Can you not open your mouth and pee? Li Fan was very uncomfortable. I still have self-control. I can't pee on your bed. It doesn't matter if you wet the bed. There are all kinds of patients in the hospital. Some even pee on the bed. What's wrong with me? You're a man. Why are you acting like a woman? Takeda Lan rolled her eyes at Li Fan. You're a patient now. I'm a nurse. Everything I do is for you. Anyway, I don't need a urinal. I want to go to the toilet. Li Fan's self-esteem was haunted. He refused to use a urinal no matter what. I'm not watching you urinate. Why are you so nervous? You can urinate slowly. Don't worry. I still have the next ward to check. That's not necessary. I won't suffocate to death. What's there to be afraid of? Li Fan's temper flared up. I want to see if my prostate can explode from holding it in. A man can't be a coward. What's there to be angry about? You're the one who feels uncomfortable. Takeda Lan was very helpless. But she had worked in the hospital for a long time and had experience. Then you sit here and don't move. Wait for me for a minute. I'll be right back. What if I move? Well, you haven't informed your family yet. I'll help you inform them. I won't move, okay, I'll be right back. With that, Takeda Lan turned around and left. In less than a minute, she pushed a wheelchair from the nurse's station not far away and walked in front of Li Fan. Then, Takeda Lan squatted down and inserted her hands under Li Fan's armpits. She gently helped him up. This Takeda Lan obviously practiced martial arts. Her strength was not small. Li Fan was weak now and could only be manipulated by her. Takeda Lan carefully placed Li Fan on the wheelchair. There was a bracket under the wheelchair that supported Li Fan's calf. Sit down, I'll push you to the toilet. All right. Li Fan also had no choice. When this Takeda Lan became overbearing, he was also at his wits' end. After all, this was a hospital. It was their territory. They just had to be obedient. Li Fan was pushed by Takeda Lan to the other end of the corridor. The inpatient department was much quieter at night. It was not as noisy as it was during the day. It was not the same in the outpatient department. It was noisy, making people feel irritated. I say, Miss Takeda, now that I'm in your hands, do you really not have any thoughts? What do you think? You're a patient. Do you think I can kill you? Takeda Lan's voice carried a hint of ridicule. You martial artists are all stubborn. You are like this, and so is Grandpa. He's been lost for several days. I don't know where he is now. Oh, he's in Foshan. Li Fan shared his information. A Hongquan dojo in Foshan was kicked by him. There are many more over there. It's estimated that he'll kick them for a while. What's the point of fighting back and forth? Takeda Lan was slightly dissatisfied. You hit me, I hit you. My body will be injured. I can't stand this kind of mutual injury. That's why I chose to quit martial arts and become a doctor. Then why didn't you choose to be a doctor? Why did you choose to be a nurse? Doctors save people. Nurses take care of people. Grandpa said that since I was a child, I liked to take care of others. That's why I chose to be a nurse. This reason, as long as you're happy. Do you have prejudice against nurses? Nurses earn less. Takeda Lan seemed a little angry. Your thinking has fallen. We're all angels in white. We're all saving lives. What's the difference between a doctor and a nurse? Why use money to measure it? Yes. Miss Takeda, I was rude. I'm sorry. Forget it. You're injured now. Your mood is unstable. I shouldn't have gotten angry with you. Takeda Lan said, stopped the wheelchair, then stood in front of Li Fan and bowed deeply to him. Please forgive me. Hey, I'm not angry with you. We were just discussing the matter. Li Fan also sighed. For Miss Takeda, money may indeed be nothing. After all, the Takeda family is a big business. But for many ordinary people, a penny can drive a hero to death. If we want to enrich our material life, that's the primary goal of everyone's struggle. Yes, you're right. I was a little extreme just now. However, after I studied nursing, I left the country and came to China to live. Here, I also rely on my own part-time work to study. I didn't spend a penny from my family. Fuck, this girl is so brave. Every day, seeing so many people injured and listening to their painful moans, I really feel sorry for them. So, if China's Wulin is going to have a catastrophe, I hope to contribute my meager strength and help a little. Miss Takeda is really kind. Li Fan's voice trembled slightly. He couldn't hold it anymore. Here we are. Takeda Lan pushed Li Fan directly into the bathroom. It was so late, and there was no one else in the bathroom. Takeda Lan helped Li Fan up and carefully helped him into the single room. The two people were so close that Li Fan could clearly smell the fragrance from Takeda Lan's body. However, this toilet full of urine smell was really not a good place to taste the fragrance. Next, I can do it myself. Li Fan said that if he helped again, he would be helping his brother. I'll help you take off your pants, Takeda Lan said, and her hand fell on the waist of Li Fan's pants. Li Fan was almost scared out of his wits. Fuck, what is she going to do? This is absolutely not allowed. Why are you so shy? It's inconvenient for you to move. I'm just helping you take off your pants. Miss Takeda. Men and women should not touch each other. You'd better go out. Li Fan was not particularly familiar with Takeda Lan. Although he was quite open in bed with Liu Wn and Imperial concubine Ju, after all, they were not sharing a pillow. If you're embarrassed, you can close your eyes. Fuck, how can I pee with my eyes closed? Aren't you afraid that I will pee in your mouth? Li Fan regretted it after saying it. It was a little too much. He was used to joking with people, so he said it casually. Takeda Lan was silent for a moment. She was really serious about work. Please don't joke. Now everything is about your health. With that, Takeda Lan pulled off Li Fan's pants. Please urinate. Don't mind me. Just pretend that I don't exist. Chapter 12:19. Li Fan was filled with grief and indignation. A hero has a weakness for the charms of a beautiful woman. This sentence is not suitable now, it should be a hero in trouble. I am a hero of my generation, but today I am reduced to letting a woman take off his pants to pee. Although Li Fan was indignant, he could not control his bladder. Especially when his pants were taken off, a cool breeze blew, and the pee was overwhelming. He turned on the small green soccer ball in the urinal and opened the water door. The sound was very loud, and Li Fan slightly blushed. It's okay. The loud sound is proof of health. Behind him, although Takeda Lan was facing Li Fan's buttocks, she seemed to have accurately grasped his thoughts and comforted him. Li Fan said, "Of course I am healthy. I can do you 10 times in one night without taking a break." Although he wanted to say something, his body was weak now, really weak. Shake it. After Li Fan finished peeing, Takeda Lan ordered. Damn you, even if you don't say it, I still have to shake it. Li Fan did the final work, and then Takeda Lan pulled up his pants. At the hospital, he changed into a hospital gown, which was more convenient. Your operation is scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. Try not to eat too greasy food during the day, understand? Takeda Lan sent Li Fan back to the bed, and after covering him with the quilt, she did not forget to say a few words. Got it, Miss Takeda, sorry to trouble you. Li Fan sighed in his heart. This Takeda Lan is simply his nemesis. My hospitalization, I hope Miss Takeda can keep it a secret. I get off work at 5 in the morning. Takeda Lan looked at her watch. If you haven't slept at that time, I will come over and chat with you. Takeda Lan still had to go to work. She helped Li Fan tidy up the quilt, and then turned to leave. Sister nurse. Don't go. A few yards. The nearby Zhao Yingjun suddenly shouted in his sleep, which made Li Fan want to laugh. This guy, in this life, may die on a woman. He lay quietly on the hospital bed. Although his body was weak, at this moment, Li Fan's mental strength was unusually strong. After Mr. Yang disappeared completely, he left a huge amount of spiritual power for Li Fan, which was also a good legacy. In addition, he cultivated the 9 Truth Secrets art, which strengthened his mental power significantly. Li Fan couldn't fall asleep, so he let his mental power sense everything around him. When Li Fan placed the ethereal platform, his mental strength would become several times clearer, and he would be able to perceive his surroundings. In Li Fan's mind, all the people in the hospital were reflected. Each of them had a colorful glow on their bodies, some strong, some dim. Those who were strong were people with exuberant energy. Those who were dim were those who were about to die. Only Li Fan could enjoy this wonderful world alone. However, he had already given up on the Star Luo Supreme art, so he had no way of absorbing the vitality of the people around him to replenish his own energy. Even if he could, Li Fan wouldn't do it. Moreover, as long as Li Fan was willing, he could absorb the flesh and blood of others and quickly repair his body. But no matter which one it was, Li Fan didn't want to use it casually. These methods were too crazy. If there was a god, he was afraid that the god wouldn't like it. Li Fan didn't seek good or evil when doing things now. He just wanted to be able to live up to his conscience. Li Fan. After lying down for a long time, Li Fan heard a familiar voice. He opened his eyes and saw that Takeda Lan had returned to his side. Takeda Lan had changed out of her nurse uniform. Her top was a white shirt, and her lower body was a pair of denim hot pants, revealing her small waist and long legs. It was really pleasing to the eye. In particular, these hot pants were a bit too short. Li Fan felt that if he tried hard, he could see the small triangle inside. Girls nowadays were beautiful with less clothes. It was really too fortunate to be born in the modern world. Li Fan couldn't help but shed tears of excitement. You haven't slept yet. Takeda Lan was a little surprised to see Li Fan so energetic. There's a surgery in the afternoon. You should have a good rest. I'm waiting for you. Li Fan said with a half-truth. Do you Chinese boys like to coax girls so much? Takeda Lan rolled her eyes at Li Fan. Ahem, how can you say that? I'm not that kind of person. Li Fan said that this Takeda Lan was not simple. It was estimated that after living alone for so long, the little girl's mind was very sharp. Why didn't you tell your family that you were injured so badly? After work, Takeda Lan was more casual. She was very curious about this question and finally couldn't help but ask. First, I don't want them to worry. Second, I can't let anyone know that I'm injured. Many people are eyeing me covetously. Once something happens to me, they will immediately attack my forces. At that time, the last bloodline of Wulin will be really broken. You martial artists are really strange. Takeda Lan was very puzzled. In our country, a powerful martial artist will definitely be respected by other martial artists. But here, martial artists also like to fight to the death, hoping that the other party can't survive. Why is that? You ask me, who should I ask? Li Fan was also helpless. This problem had been like this in China since ancient times. Chinese people had a habit of loving internal strife. The more superior the internal environment, the more fierce the fight. However, once there was a foreign enemy, it would be different. No matter how fierce the internal strife was, they would first unite as one, drive the foreign enemy out, and then fight internally. China's thousands of years of civilization history was always filled with internal strife, which made the glorious Wulin in the past to be on the verge of death. In modern times, there were 2 thorough purges. One was the Red Decade, and the other was the Holy War plan a while ago. Your Japanese Wulin is also eyeing us covetously. If I fall now, then it's really over. I still don't understand. There was a puzzled look in Takeda Lan's beautiful eyes. It's normal that you can't understand. I also can't understand. Li Fan lay on the bed, completely relaxed his body and mind, so, you must not leak the news that I'm here. You asked me for one thing, and I'll also ask you for one thing. Takeda Lan pleaded, you're already injured, please don't compete with my grandfather. It's just a little injury, it's not like I can't recover. Li Fan looked at Takeda Lan and told her word by word, I'm a martial artist. Refusing another martial artist is humiliating me. What's more, I have the Chinese Wulin behind me. If I don't fight, where will the face of the Chinese Wulin be? You're not the only one in the Chinese Wulin. Takeda Lan asked, don't you still have Wudang and Shaolin in China? Can't you just let them fight for you? Chapter 12:20. Hearing her words, Li Fan smiled bitterly. Wudang? Shaolin? That place has completely turned into a tourist attraction. Li Fan pointed at himself. Now, I am the last Wulin. In the big Wulin, other than a few alliances that were still resisting, the only one left was Li Fan's Seven Chivalry sect. Now that the Seven Chivalry sect was slowly on the right track, Li Fan's next step was to choose a mountain and prepare to establish his sect. G City and H City were both too close to the north and south, so it was not suitable to establish a sect. Li Family Island was the most suitable place. After all, it was his territory, but it was too far. Li Fan wanted to find a suitable land in the middle. Bai Linluo had already researched this on behalf of Li Fan. Currently, Li Family Island was developing well, and their funds were slowly increasing. Li Family Island took out a portion of the funds to choose a good small villa in Lianning's Bayfish Circle. Bayfish Circle was also a coastal city. First, it was convenient to go to Li Family Island, and second, it was still being developed. In the future, it would be a good tourist city. That small villa was originally going to be developed as a tourist attraction, but the local planning bureau staff owed General Ran a favor. Thus, General Ran pulled some strings, and Bai Linluo paid the money, and that small villa was contracted by them. Currently, they had signed the ownership contract for 70 years. Not only the small villa, but half of the mountain was also under the management of the villa. Currently, the villa was still under repair. Once it was repaired, Li Fan would go there to establish his sect. The last Wulin was to spread the Seven Chivalry sect's martial arts throughout China. In short, you are injured, so you can't fight. Takeda Lan saw that Li Fan did not listen to her advice. It takes 100 days to recover from an injury. You need to rest for at least a few months. In these few months, you won't be able to fight with my grandfather. Are you worried about me, Miss Takeda? Mr. Li, you think too much. I just don't want anyone to get hurt. Takeda Lan snorted, I want everyone to be healthy. Stupid, then you will lose your job. If everyone can be healthy, I would rather change my job. Alright, my martial arts club is still lacking a young doctor. Come, I'll give you a high salary. In your dreams. After I gain some work experience, I'm going to join the United Nations rescue team. Damn, your thoughts are too far-fetched. Li Fan prostrated himself in admiration. This woman was simply amazing. Can't women have dreams? Yes, of course I can. Li Fan gave him a thumbs up. Great dream. I'll give you a like. Thank you, although I don't see any admiration in your eyes. Ahem, you're mistaken. My eyes are filled with reverence for you. Li Fan quickly explained. Cut it out. The more you try to cover it up, the worse it will get. Takeda Lan curled her lips. You better recuperate. Don't bother explaining. That's true. Then go back and rest early. I'll continue to recuperate. Ian, after all, we still have to be together for a long time. See you tomorrow. No, see you tonight. Takeda Lan finally left. Li Fan breathed a sigh of relief. This woman was really stubborn. What Li Fan feared the most was this kind of stubborn woman. Just when Li Fan wanted to have a good rest, a chill suddenly came from the side. Li Fan felt as if winter had arrived. Even Zhao Yingjun, who was sleeping next to him, subconsciously wrapped himself in the quilt. Who is it? Li Fan became vigilant and turned his head to take a look. A strong man wearing only shorts was sitting on the bed opposite Li Fan. On the bed was an old man with a fractured finger. He was also unconscious, tightly wrapped in the quilt. He didn't know that someone was sitting on his bed. This man looked at Li Fan coldly as if he was looking at a dead man. Sir, you came to find me in the middle of the night wearing so little. Aren't you cold? Death is imminent, but you still have a glib tongue. The underwear man sneered, is this the tongue you use to coax my woman? Your woman? Which one are you? Li Fan frowned. His heart had a slight bad premonition. Oh, you're having fun, but you don't know who I am? No matter, you just need to remember that I'm here to take your life. With that, the underwear man suddenly stepped forward and dragged Li Fan from the bed. He pinched his neck and pinned him to the wall behind him. His palm gradually closed. Li Fan has understood. This man's wife is Xiong Meili, who he had slept with. Fuck, I still haven't gone to Dong Hai. Her husband came to find me. Right now, his body was empty. He couldn't exert any strength. He could only watch the underwear man slowly closing his palm. His breathing became more and more difficult. The god of death seemed to have stopped on his shoulder, waiting to harvest his life. Li Fan wanted to give up struggling. He was tired. It is said that before a person dies, they can see everything in the past. In this scene, Li Fan felt that he had seen a lot. The first time he saw Murong Ying at a school dance. The first time he was forced to date by Lin Yuhin. The first time he used martial arts to defeat his opponent. These scenes made Li Fan want to live again. Unwilling. An intense unwillingness. He didn't even have the chance to establish his own sect. If he dies like this, he is unwilling. To be able to die in my hands, you didn't live in vain. The underwear man said. His right hand suddenly turned into a dragon claw and directly crushed Li Fan's neck. Li Fan didn't even have the time to struggle before he breathed his last. Humph, trash. The underwear man swung his hand and threw Li Fan to the side. He originally wanted to leave. However, at this moment, countless black silk threads suddenly flew out from Li Fan's body and directly wrapped around the underwear man's body. The underwear man was shocked. He was about to roar out, but a large number of silk threads had already wrapped around his mouth, sealing his voice. Then, more silk threads inserted themselves into the underwear man's body, sucking his flesh and blood. As a member of the majestic dragon race, if he was in dragon form, these black genetic robots would not be able to do anything to him. However, he was currently in human form. Before he could react, his body was torn apart by the genetic robots and crazily stuffed into Li Fan's body. Li Fan, who was originally dead at the side, suddenly trembled. His throat, which had been cut off, quickly healed. His heartbeat, which should have stopped, due to the impact of the genetic robots, thumped twice, causing Li Fan's heart to beat again. Li Fan abruptly opened his eyes and let out a roar. His roar was like thunder as it flew through the window and into the sky, dispersing the clouds that had gathered in the sky. In an instant, all the people in the hospital who were sleeping woke up with a start. They didn't know what happened and thought that there was a thunderstorm outside. Only Li Fan knew what had happened. He sat on the ground, recalling what happened earlier. Chapter 12:21. Second brother, is there thunder? Zhao Yingjun rubbed his eyes, sat up, and looked at Li Fan, who was lying against the wall. Yes, there is thunder. Li Fan also calmed down. He nodded and slowly stood up. Hey, second brother, your leg. Seeing Li Fan stand up as if nothing had happened, Zhao Yingjun was dumbfounded. Yes, it's done. As Li Fan spoke, he stepped on the ground, and the splint tied to it shattered. It's recovering well. There's no need for surgery tomorrow. You're too perverted. Zhao Yingjun looked at Li Fan as if he was a monster. I won't accompany you here. Help me tell the hospital that I'm going back to the dojo. As Li Fan spoke, he turned and walked toward the stairs. Tonight was an eventful night. He actually absorbed a real dragon. The dragon lady said that dragons were at their strongest when they were in their dragon form. However, after transforming into human form, they could not even use 1/1000th of their strength. Although he did not know whether the dragon lady was telling the truth, Li Fan felt that he had indeed survived tonight. Everything seemed to be pushed by fate. He went to the heavenly prison, absorbed the chosen one, and then became a dragon knight. When his body was weak, he met the man in underpants who caught him in the act again. Then, because of the chosen one, he absorbed him again. The benefits that the man in underpants brought him were obvious. Obviously, Li Fan's physical strength had increased a lot, and his vitality was more abundant. Moreover, with the dragon gene in his body, Li Fan felt that there was more room for improvement in the martial arts he had previously learned. Li Fan looked at his hand. Was he considered a dragon now? This question was worth pondering. I'll go back and discuss it with the dragon lady. As Li Fan was thinking about this matter, he hurried out of the hospital. As a result, at the hospital entrance, Li Fan saw a familiar figure. The young nurse, Takeda Lan, who had left earlier, was now standing at the hospital entrance, reaching out to hail a taxi. But at night, there were very few cars in front of the hospital. In addition, there were a few other people waiting together. When the taxi stopped, the others rushed forward and directly sat in the car. Takeda Lan was so angry that she stomped her feet. Li Fan couldn't help but want to laugh. It couldn't be helped. In China, there were many thick-skinned people. Snatching a taxi was nothing. He had seen worse things with his own eyes. Li Fan was not in a hurry to leave. He felt that Takeda Lan was a very interesting girl. He stood silently on the side and watched her try to get a taxi. After waiting for another half an hour, he really couldn't get a taxi. He could only stomp his feet and walk to the side road. This woman probably gave up on taking a taxi and chose to walk home. This was more like it. After all, they were all martial artists, and their legs were so strong. It would be better to walk back, and it would also train their bodies. Li Fan looked in the direction. It happened to be the way back to the dojo, so he decided to send this girl on her way. Li Fan was also bored. He bounced his feet and used the 8 steps catching cicada. After a few steps, he jumped to the top of a small building next to him. He jumped forward again, soared into the air, and landed on the roof of the opposite building. Li Fan was wearing a hospital gown, silently following behind Takeda Lan with the roof as the road. Takeda Lan was worthy of being a martial artist. After walking for a long time, she didn't look tired at all. Her steps were light, and as she hurried, she looked at the phone in her hand. It was very dangerous to walk like this. But at this time, a few black shadows caught Li Fan's attention. These black shadows whizzed out from the side, like ghosts, and quietly followed Takeda Lan. Takeda Lan, who was originally immersed in her phone, finally felt a trace of bad. She stopped in a small alley and looked up. Everyone, secretly following me isn't a gentleman's behavior, right? As soon as she finished speaking, a figure wrapped in black landed in front of her with a whoosh. This was a man with a height of no more than 1.6 meters. His whole body was wrapped in a black ninja suit, revealing only a pair of gloomy small eyes. Looking at the family emblem on their bodies, Li Fan already recognized them. This is the most famous ninja clan of Japan, Koga clan. Koga clan? I have no enmity with you, why are you following me? Takeda Lan looked at the short ninja in front of her and immediately asked. Although when Japan invaded China, they used the Northeast men to improve their short genes. But in the ninja clan, they still respected the shorty. Because ninjas are an assassination group, being tall and big is not good for assassination. The shorter the body, the more flexible. Sorry, Miss Takeda, we have no ill intentions. The ninja who appeared said slowly with a hoarse voice, we just want to remind Miss Takeda not to interfere in the competition between the Takeda clan and China. The clan, this is the respectful title for the head of the Takeda family. This is our Takeda family's own matter, when did it become your Koga clan's turn to interfere? Takeda Lan seemed to be a little unhappy, this Koga clan's hand had reached too far, it had actually reached into their home. This is not your Takeda family's own matter. The ninja reminded her, Miss Takeda, this is related to the great cause of the entire Japan's martial arts world. Li Fan is a threat to us. We plan to take this opportunity to get rid of Li Fan and destroy the entire Chinese martial arts world. This way, the Japan's martial arts world will be the strongest existence in the world. What a joke. I will never allow this kind of thing. Takeda Lan was very angry. What you are doing is a grave mistake, I will not agree to it. We know that Miss Takeda has a strong and unyielding personality, so we did not come here to persuade you. The ninja's attitude became tough. This is the order of His Majesty the Emperor. If you do not agree, we will kidnap you back to the Japan. When this competition is over, we will naturally let you out. You dare. Takeda-lan raised her eyebrows. She was furious. If you dare to do this, my grandfather will definitely not let you off. The great clan will definitely understand our painstaking efforts. The ninja's attitude did not change. We will not make things difficult for Miss Takeda. When we return to the Japan, we will still serve you well. This is really too presumptuous. It is because of the existence of people like you that I don't want to practice martial art. Takeda-lan's chest heaved up and down. She was obviously very angry. I will definitely not let you guys do as you wish. Miss Takeda, even if we are enemies with you, we still have to complete the mission. Looks like you won't change your mind. Takeda-lan stepped into a horse stance, stretched out her hands, and assumed the stance of their Takeda family karate. Since that's the case, I will let you experience my Takeda family's martial art. Chapter 1222. The Koga ninja did not speak, just whistled. A shadow squatted on the top of the nearby wall, took out a blowtube in his hand, and blew at Takeda-lan below. But Takeda-lan's ears slightly moved, turned around, and directly slapped the flying needle away. As for the other ninja, he threw a large net towards Takeda-lan. Takeda-lan once again noticed the movement. She moved to the side, avoiding the big net. At the same time, she turned around and kicked a poplar tree in the alley. Lifting her long, fair legs, she pushed open her hot pants and kicked it. The poplar tree shook, and a Koga ninja hiding on it directly fell down and fell on top of Takeda-lan's head. Takeda-lan took a step back, at the same time, raised her right hand, and directly chopped the ninja's lower abdomen with a beautiful knife hand. The Koga ninja directly hit the ground, smashing a pit in the ground. Miss Takeda is really powerful. The Takeda family cannot be underestimated. The previous leader ninja could not help but praise. The Takeda family's martial arts is the spiritual symbol of Japan, therefore, the Takeda family cannot lose. Then don't compete. Takeda-lan emphasized, in this way, no one will lose. There will be no dispute, no harm. Miss Takeda, your idea is too naive. The Koga ninja reminded her, such a simple idea cannot serve an empire. I don't serve any empire, don't think too much. Miss Takeda, in your body flows the blood of my Yamato people. The Koga ninja continued, we belong to the people of the sun, we endure humiliation, only to be able to let the sun of the empire rise again. Don't joke around, now is the era of peace, don't think about those wars, you will only make civilization regress. Chinese people are inferior people, they are not qualified to have such a rich territory. The Koga ninja continued, you see, this beautiful place has been ruined by them. That is also their territory, their country. You war criminals, don't tie everyone's thoughts to you. No, you are wrong. We are not war criminals, we are pioneers. The Koga ninja's eyes were full of fanaticism. Maybe some people don't understand now, but after a few decades, the descendants of Shina that we rescued will definitely thank us. Ridiculous. Takeda-lan was getting angrier. You guys have not only tarnished our civilization, China's civilization, but you've also tarnished the word martial artists. If Grandpa finds out what you've done, his fists will cry. Childish young miss. The Koga ninja sighed, in that case, don't blame us for being ruthless. Bring it on. Who would be afraid of you monsters? Takeda-lan struck out with both fists, and a steady stream of chi began to emerge from her body, causing the surrounding gravel to float up. And Takeda-lan's long hair also floated along with the energy. Everyone says that Miss Takeda is the most beloved granddaughter of the sect, and even passed on the morality technique that he painstakingly cultivated to you. What a pity. With your skills, you should be serving my Yamato Empire. Nagi, if you want to fight, come quickly. Takeda-lan stood there, her kung fu was indeed powerful. Several ninjas launched a sneak attack, but they were all defeated by her. Takeda-lan's kung fu was clean and neat, and her punches and kicks were also very powerful, showing the advantage of karate. Karate, as the national art of Japan, is basically a strong and fierce move. Especially the power of the punches and kicks, it was very strong. Even for a girl like Takeda-lan, no ninja could directly take a punch or kick from her. Li Fan stood on the roof, his eyes like an eagle, clearly watching the battle below. Takeda-lan was indeed powerful, and those ninjas were not her opponent at all. It was a pity that such a girl did not practice kung fu. Koga sect, just SOSO. Takeda-lan defeated a lot of ninjas in a row, full of confidence. But at this time, the ninja that she first knocked to the ground suddenly picked up the blowtube and blew a needle at Takeda-lan's back. Takeda-lan did not expect this. Although she felt a chill on her back, it was too late to dodge and defend. The silver needle directly pierced her white shirt and pierced her smooth back. The young nurse felt her eyes turning black, and her strength suddenly disappeared. Unable to support her body, she half knelt on the ground, one hand on the ground, trying not to fall down. "I'm sorry, Miss Takeda." The Koga ninja apologized. "This needle is smeared with medicine to make you weak. You will be fine, you just won't be able to lift your strength for a few days. When the major martial arts competition is over, you will safely return to the Takeda family." How can you humiliate the samurai of the Takeda family like this? Takeda-lan bit her lips. She would rather die than let these people succeed. "Miss Takeda, I'm sorry." The Koga ninja took out a pair of handcuffs, ready to lock Takeda-lan. At this time, a hand suddenly stretched out from the side and grabbed his wrist. Hey, friend, it's not good to tie up a girl, right?" Takeda-lan slightly turned her head and found that it was Li Fan. "This guy's leg hasn't healed, and he's wearing a hospital gown. How come he came here?" "Li Fan. Quickly go. Your leg." Takeda-lan wanted to let Li Fan leave, but suddenly found that his leg was firmly on the ground, as if nothing happened. Li Fan. Seeing this person, the Koga ninja was also surprised. "Friends, don't you want to defeat me, Li Fan? Why bother others to do it? It's better to do it yourself." When Li Fan spoke, a ninja jumped from behind him, grabbed the kunai with both hands, raised it high, and fiercely stabbed toward the back of Li Fan's neck. Before Takeda-lan had time to warn him, Li Fan took a step back, his body first hit the ninja, and his shoulders pushed away the ninja's hands that had not yet had time to swing down. The ninja was hit, and then Li Fan grabbed his throat, pulled his whole body from the back to the front, and smashed him to the ground. His throat has been grabbed by Li Fan's fingers, and blood spurted out. The ninja covered his bleeding neck and struggled a few times. His eyes were wide open and he was completely dead. Li Fan's ruthless move made the Koga ninja frown. "Li Fan, don't look down on us Koga ninjas. Today, even if I have to sacrifice every soldier, I will kill you here. If you really did this earlier, I would admire you." Li Fan laughed. "But now, I just want to say one thing. Everyone here, you are all trash." Chapter 12:23. Li Fan's words are not polite at all. The Koga ninja became impatient and only managed to suppress his anger after a long time. "Li Fan, leave your life here. If you have the ability, come and take it." Li Fan crossed his arms and stood there. "How about this? You are too weak. It is not fair to fight like this. I will let you use only 2 hands. How about it? Kill him." The Koga ninja ordered angrily. A ninja almost stuck to the ground and rushed to the front of Li Fan. He held a tachi in his hand and chopped at Li Fan's feet. However, Li Fan jumped lightly and avoided the ninja's tachi. At the same time, he fell down and stepped on the ninja's wrist with one foot. He swung his other foot like a battle axe and directly chopped at the ninja's head. 9 Dragons Art, 4th Style, Guillotine. The ninja's head flew out and smashed on the wall next to him, smearing his blood on it. "Sigh, the wall is dirty." Li Fan's words are full of sarcasm, causing the Koga ninja to gnash his teeth. Another 2 ninjas sneak attacked. Li Fan kept his promise. He even put his hands in his pocket and only swung his legs as a weapon. Guillotine was activated again and again, chopping off the heads of the surrounding ninjas, not giving them any chance to live. For these people, Li Fan did not intend to let them live. As for the corpses here, he will leave them to General Ran to deal with. These ninjas are not honorable fellows. Even if they die, they do not dare to make a sound. Li Fan, don't be complacent. The leading Koga ninja couldn't help it anymore. He pinched a seal with his hands, and no one knew how he did it, but unexpectedly, he performed a doppelganger jutsu, turning into 10 identical figures, each of which took out a different ninja weapon. Some were holding tachi, some were holding double hooks, some were holding kunai, some were holding long sticks, and some were holding chain guns. Looking at them, it is really a bit daunting. Die. The Koga ninja jumped over with his doppelganger and attacked Li Fan. He was confident that he could cripple Li Fan in one round. He was an elite of the Koga Ryu. If he gave it his all, even if he couldn't kill Li Fan, he would at least severely injure him. But at this moment, Li Fan still had his hands in his pockets and had no intention of taking them out. Hurry up and attack. Otherwise, you're dead. Seeing this scene, Takeda-lan could not help but remind. But her voice was weak and had no effect at all. But Li Fan was still standing there, facing the 10 ninjas rushing at him together, without the slightest fear. As for Li Fan, he took out his essence from his dantian and compressed it 3 times in his body. Then, he rushed towards the 10 vicious ninjas in front of him and directly spat out a dragon roar. 9 dragons will, minor 4th style, war dragon roar. Roar. A huge blast of air burst out from Li Fan's mouth and rushed forward. The 10 ninjas came fast and left even faster. In the blink of an eye, the 10 of them were all sent flying. Even the ground in front of them was blown up. A huge crack appeared on the ground in front of them. The wall beside them was shattered and the bodies of the 10 ninjas were instantly blown dozens of meters away and fell hard into the distance. Finally, Li Fan stretched out a hand and yawned. I'm sleepy. It's time to go back to sleep. Li Fan stretched out his hand and carried Takeda-lan in his arms like a princess carry. Let me send you home, nurse. The surrounding ninjas had all been defeated. Although they were powerful, they were still not Li Fan's match. Especially since Li Fan had just eaten a dragon, his strength had increased a lot. The 9 dragons' will that he created could be used to the extreme. Sorry for causing trouble for you. Takeda-lan did not have any strength and could only let Li Fan carry her in his arms. The first thing she thought of was to apologize to Li Fan. I didn't expect that the Kaga family would do such a thing. No matter where it is, there will always be some rotten fish and shrimps. Li Fan sighed. Previously, the 3 major families of Japan had been looking for trouble with me. Although I used the Abe family as an example and thought that the 3 major families had settled down, I didn't expect that they were still hiding such wild ambitions. Your leg. How did it recover? Takeda-lan could not help but ask this question. She had seen the X-ray film of Li Fan's leg injury. It was indeed a comminuted fracture, there was no mistake. Aha, didn't I tell you before that I recover faster? You're too fast. Takeda-lan did not believe it at all. How did you do it? It's true that I recover a bit faster. Right now, I might not even be considered a human anymore. After being injected with the genetic robot, Li Fan felt that he was even more like a monster. This kind of monster was created by humans. Humans were indeed at the top of the food chain on Earth. This heaven's chosen one could even devour the dragon race. It was truly terrifying. How could that be? Since you came to save me, it means that your heart is still very kind. Takeda-lan immediately comforted Li Fan. With such a heart, it shows that you are a kind human. Speaking of people being good at birth, I believe that people are evil at birth. After experiencing a period of things, Li Fan had long lost the innocence of the past. How could that be? Your outlook on life is too pessimistic. This is not good. Alright, I won't argue with you anymore. This is not a place to talk. I'll send you back first. Li Fan carried Takeda-lan and asked her the direction to go home. Takeda-lan pointed the way. Li Fan jumped up and used Qinggong to bring Takeda-lan home. On the way, Li Fan suddenly asked a question. Should you lose weight? I've gained weight. Takeda-lan suddenly became nervous. A few days ago I was down to 88 pounds. Could it be that I broke 90 pounds? Li Fan was a bit speechless. I was just joking with you. Did you really take it seriously? Phew. Scared me to death. Takeda-lan lightly hammered Li Fan's chest. Damn it, how can you use a girl's weight as a joke? You really should learn some manners on how to deal with girls. Your words remind me of a friend of mine. Li Fan was amazed. Humph, I am me, Takeda-lan. Takeda-lan only had the strength to speak, when my body recovers. I want to replace my grandfather and fight with you. If the two of us fight, those people from the island countries won't interfere, right? You won't succeed. Li Fan looked at Takeda-lan in his arms. The little girl's face was determined. This is a conspiracy that has been planned for a long time. It will not disappear because of your personal efforts. This battle is inevitable. Chapter 12:24. The place where Takeda-lan lived was not very far away. Although she was the daughter of the Takeda family, she only lived in an ordinary small apartment in City G. Li Fan used his internal force to open Takeda-lan's meridians, so that her physical strength slowly recovered. Why do you live in this kind of tube-shaped apartment? After Li Fan sent Takeda-lan into the room, he couldn't help but ask. The rent in G City is very expensive, okay? Takeda-lan immediately said, this is not bad, it's close to the hospital, and the rent is relatively cheap. Takeda-lan's room was less than 30 square meters, with one bedroom, one bathroom, and one kitchen. A camp bed was placed in the living room, which was the place where Takeda-lan rested. Li Fan looked around and felt that it was indeed a little shabby, not like a place where a young lady of a famous family should live. If the Takeda family knew that their daughter was squeezed in such a small shabby house in Huaxia, they would probably be unhappy. Why, are you not satisfied? Takeda-lan smiled. The conditions here are good. In the future, when I join the rescue team of the United Nations, I will often go to poor countries, and even war-torn places. There, I don't even have such conditions. You are a strange girl, I know. Li Fan couldn't help but complain. How can you say that about a girl with ideals? Takeda-lan gave Li Fan a hard look. This will be hated by girls. Yes, Miss Takeda, it's my fault. You are a girl who has transcended the realm, a modern nightingale. I have been deeply moved by your persistence and faith, but these days, you'd better not live here. Why? Takeda-lan didn't understand what Li Fan meant. You have been targeted by the people of Koga-ryu, and they will not stop until they complete the task. Li Fan reminded Takeda-lan, although your kung fu is good, Koga-ryu's ninjutsu is despicable and shameless. They will use all kinds of means to bring you back to Japan. At that time, I am afraid you will miss my proposal, right? Then where should I go? Takeda-lan also understood Li Fan's meaning. No matter where I hide, the people of Koga-ryu will definitely find a way to find me. No, there is a very safe place. Li Fan chuckled. From today onwards, you can stay in my student dormitory. The conditions there are not bad. You can just pay me the monthly rent. Ah, is this okay? Takeda-lan was startled, and was then moved by Li Fan's sincere eyes. What's wrong with that? I still have a lot of places at my place. They're empty anyway. If I take some rent from you, both of us will benefit from it. Isn't it killing two birds with one stone? Although it's a good thing. I don't know why, but it sounds a little uncomfortable. What do you mean by killing two birds with one stone? That's terrible. Takeda-lan frowned slightly. Ahaha, you're right, I made a mistake. This is killing two birds with one stone, two birds with one stone. Takeda-lan bowed deeply to Li Fan, a 15-degree bow. How come it's only 15 degrees? Li Fan was a little surprised. Shouldn't it be a standard 90-degree bow? That's not it. Takeda-lan burst out laughing, and then reminded Li Fan, a 15-degree bow is to express gratitude. A 30-degree bow is to express sincerity and apology. If it's 90-degree, it's to show repentance, to repent, and to repent. This is the etiquette passed down from your China, but you guys have forgotten it. This is indeed a little embarrassing. Li Fan said in his heart that Takeda-lan was right, and he had nothing to defend. Okay, then you pack up your things and come back to the martial arts hall with me. Okay, then I'll leave it to you. Takeda-lan bowed to Li Fan again. It was still a 15-degree bow. She was more traditional in these aspects. She was obviously dressed very sexily. Li Fan watched Takeda-lan pack up some girls' things. He couldn't help in this aspect, so he could only sit next to her and adjust his breath. After more than half an hour, Takeda Lan finished packing up. So fast. Smelling the fragrance around him, Li Fan opened his eyes and saw Takeda Lan carrying a backpack, standing beside him. Well, I just took some things that I can use, let's go. Which girl can pack faster than you? I'm going to be a nurse on the battlefield in the future, how can I carry too many things with me? Li Fan looked at the clean and simple apartment, and in his heart, he already understood Takeda Lan's character. This girl, in the future, will definitely be a character. Okay, let's go. Li Fan thought of something and suddenly asked another question. However, I like to walk, Miss Takeda Lan won't mind, right? As you say, I can do anything. Takeda Lan nodded and didn't object. A man and a woman, the two of them set out in the middle of the night, without any delay on the way back to the martial arts school. I tell you, our martial arts school is absolutely safe. When they were about to reach the martial arts school, Li Fan began to boast. Since those bastards kept looking for trouble, General Ran added some people to my martial arts school to patrol day and night. Now I'm almost at the military zone. Although it's a bit troublesome, it's absolutely safe. Li Fan just finished boasting. When he arrived at the entrance of the martial arts school, he was stunned for a moment. At this late, the martial arts school should be quiet, but at this time, it was brightly lit. In front of the martial arts school was a large group of royal guards, confronting the soldiers in front of the door. Bai Shui and Zhao Yang were still standing guard, both of them were loyal, holding their pistols, pointing at the royal guards in front of them, not letting them enter. Li Fan didn't understand the situation. He glanced at the crowd and found that his spy, Huang Jie, was standing in the crowd. Li Fan used telepathy and coughed to him. Huang Jie turned his head and saw Li Fan, hurriedly gave him a look, and then pointed to his phone. Li Fan understood, took a look at the phone, and found that the phone was already out of battery. Fuck, at this critical time, this kind of situation happened. What's going on? Let's go in and see. Li Fan was quite helpless. This was too embarrassing. He didn't care about the two groups of people in front of him, but took Takeda Lan, through a small road that no one knew, to take a look back to his martial arts school. At this time, in the martial arts school, a man was standing in the training hall, followed by two royal guards. This man was wearing a white suit with a black tie, square face, thick eyebrows, and big eyes, looking upright and outspoken. He was about 1.8 meters tall, with a large ring knife made of animal skin hanging on his waist. Jiang Yi and Le Xiaohu stood opposite of the man, confronting him. Imperial concubine Zhu crossed her arms, standing behind, as if to support the two disciples of Li Fan. Liu Wanna and Murong Ari were standing next to each other, eyebrows furrowed. Dragon Lady was not here, she rarely appeared on this kind of occasion. The atmosphere in the martial arts school was quite stiff. Chapter 1225. Takeda Lan was about to speak, but Li Fan had already covered her mouth, motioning her not to make a sound. He hid at the side, wanting to know what the Imperial Army wanted to do in the middle of the night. And how would his two little disciples deal with it? But as soon as Li Fan came, Imperial concubine Zhu had already sensed his aura. The strange woman looked back and did not make a sound. She continued to stand there in silence. This Imperial consort was very smart. She had long guessed what Li Fan was thinking and what he was thinking. Our master has already fallen asleep. If you want to find him, please come back another day. It was not suitable for Jiang Yi to appear here. She had always appeared in front of others with a mask, so as not to reveal her true identity. As long as Murong Bo was not eliminated, Jiang Yi's identity would not see the light of day. Now that she thought about it, it seemed that the Jiang siblings were living under the shadow of Murong Bo. Jiang Yi could not deal with it, but under her guidance, Le Xiaohu opened his mouth to speak to the square-faced premier-level cadre. Le Xiaohu seemed reluctant. He, who was originally clenching his fists, reluctantly cupped his fists. So, everyone, please go back. I'm not here to look for trouble. I'm just here to say hello to Officer Li. The other party was neither servile nor overbearing, and his speech was also methodical, making it hard for people to find fault. This is my first time taking office in G City, so I should say hello to Officer Li. Especially after hearing that Officer Lee is in good spirits, I can't help but be fascinated and want to see him. Sorry to disappoint you, my master is indeed asleep. Master works at sunrise and rests at sunset. This is his unchanging rule, so even we, as his disciples, dare not rashly wake him up. Le Xiaohu also answered neatly, but his tone was very similar to Jiang Yi's. Obviously, it was Jiang Yi's guidance. The secret voice transmission was indeed a useful skill. First, I am afraid that I will disturb Master's rest. Second, I am also worried that even if we meet, Master will still be sleepy, and it will not be good if he neglects you, officer. Le Xiaohu once again stretched out his hand. So, please go back. Li Fan was very satisfied with the answer. When his two disciples worked together, they were impeccable. However, Li Fan was concerned about one thing. This newly appointed minister, of all times, had to come when he was injured. Did he do it intentionally, or unintentionally? Once they knew that he was not in the dojo, the Seven Heroes dojo would immediately lose its protection. Who knew what this minister-level cadre would do? He always felt that he was full of confidence. Even with the protection of General Ran, it was not as safe as him being here. Especially since Jin Hisao was staying in the student dormitory at the back. Once she was discovered, she would be in trouble. If the higher-ups knew that he was harboring a wanted criminal, it would be hard for him to explain himself. If it really was intentional, then this newly arrived minister-level cadre was truly not simple. It's okay, I can wait. The Prime Minister-level cadre stood in the training hall and said loudly, "It's 1 o'clock in the middle of the night. Since Chief Li works at sunrise and rests at sunrise, he should wake up in 4 hours. At that time, I will naturally be able to meet you." Le Xiaohu seemed a little anxious, but he suddenly paused and said, "If that's the case, sir, please take a rest in the lounge." "No need, I am a martial artist, I'm not that delicate. I will just wait here." This minister-level cadre was quite persistent. The outside was also surrounded by layers of imperial guards, but who was Li Fan? He had already prepared a secret passage. From the back of a nearby restaurant, he followed the secret passage back to the underground training ground of the dojo. Li Fan had already calculated this in the early stages of designing the dojo, and Lin Yuhin had repeatedly urged him to do so. A cunning rabbit has 3 burrows, it's better to be prepared. All right then, I'll do as you wish, sir. Le Xiaohu had no choice. Since the other party did not do anything to the dojo, it was not appropriate for him to make a move. Moreover, Jiang Yi had been watching him, preventing him from acting impulsively. However, the Prime Minister-level cadre suddenly turned his head and his gaze fell on Jiang Yi's face. "This is Chief Li's second disciple, right?" Jiang Yi nodded. "Since you're both Chief Li's beloved disciples, you might as well say what you want to say. There's no need to borrow someone else's mouth and appear distant." This sentence made even Li Fan a little secretly shocked. This kid was amazing, he actually noticed Jiang Yi's small movements. It was inevitable that there would be slight lip movements during a voice transmission from 1,000 miles away. Although Jiang Yi was wearing a mask, girls still loved to be beautiful. Her new mask only covered the upper half of her face, revealing the delicate lower half of her oval face. Chief Li has misunderstood. Just when Le Xiaohu was slightly flustered, Jiang Yi spoke. Her voice was as sweet as the chirping of an oriole, causing the 2 imperial guards present to be a little dazed. "This little girl admires senior brother. I just said some sour words just now, I don't want outsiders to hear it." Le Xiaohu rolled his eyes in his heart, thinking, "You've always been devoted to master, when did you develop feelings for me?" However, this explanation was very reasonable, and no one could find fault with it. "Although I can't see your face, this young lady is also a beauty. You've misunderstood, this little girl has a wound on her face, and other than senior brother, I really don't want others to see it." The minister-level cadre laughed. "Since you're a child of the pugilistic world, why hide it? Why not let this Yarrow have a look?" As he spoke, he suddenly stepped forward and reached out to grab Jiang Yi's mask. "Sir, please stop." Jiang Yi took a step back, while Le Xiaohu stepped forward and reached out, trying to push away the minister-level cadre's hand. However, the other party laughed and bumped his shoulder forward, directly hitting Le Xiaohu's chest, causing him to take a step back. At the same time, his momentum did not decrease, and he continued to grab Jiang Yi's mask. This guy couldn't be neglected. If he discovered Jiang Yi's appearance, it would be very troublesome. However, it was just taking off the mask. Jiang Yi couldn't resist desperately, and it would instead cause more suspicion. At this time, Li Fan had no choice but to act. He let go of Takeda Lan's hand, his body turned into a shadow, and instantly appeared in front of the minister-level cadre, grabbing him by the wrist. The minister-level cadre only felt as if his hand was caught by an iron hoop, unable to advance or retreat. The two little disciples revealed a look of joy. Le Xiaohu's eyes lit up, and the corners of Jiang Yi's mouth rose. Murong Ari even clapped her hands and shouted happily. "Brother-in-law, you're awake? I'm sorry for waking you up." Liu Wen looked apologetic, one hand on Murong Ari's shoulder, and bowed her head to apologize to Li Fan. Li Fan looked at the minister-level cadre and asked with a smile. "Friend, visiting so late at night, is it because you admire me?" Chapter 12:26. The officer was shocked. Why was Li Fan here? But his expression immediately calmed down, and he looked at Li Fan with a smile. "Officer Li, you're finally awake. Hey, the clothes you're wearing. Excuse me, this is my pajamas. How is it? Isn't it different?" When Li Fan became thick-skinned, others couldn't do anything to him. "It's really unique." The officer suddenly cupped his hands. "Officer Li, my name is Yarrow Lei, the newly appointed Imperial Guard of G City. I've heard of your name for a long time, and I'm here to pay my respects to you." Brother Yarrow is too polite. Li Fan was neither cold nor warm. "I'm not an ancient official, nor an emperor, nor your father, so there's no need to pay my respects. If you're free, come here and have a drink." Li Fan's words made Yarrow Lei's eyebrows jump slightly, but Yarrow Lei was quite shrewd. He endured such humiliation. "Officer Li is really humorous. Can you let go of my hand first?" "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot." Li Fan laughed and let go of Yarrow Lei's wrist. Yarrow Lei glanced at the wrist, which was already red, and there was a red band on it, which was faintly painful. "Are you okay, Brother Yarrow? Does it hurt?" Li Fan pretended to ask. "It doesn't hurt, it doesn't hurt." Yarrow Lei laughed dryly. Li Fan patted Jiang Yi and Le Xiaohu's shoulders. "You two still have something to talk about. Go. Brother Yarrow came for me. I'll entertain him." Li Fan pointed to the door next to him. "Go." Jiang Yi was smart and immediately understood Li Fan's intention. She pulled Le Xiaohu and went to the room where Takeda Lan was. When they arrived, Takeda Lan would naturally explain to them. "Xiao Wan, Xiao Ari, you should also sleep. Imperial concubine Ju, will you entertain Brother Yarrow with me, or go back to rest? This empress doesn't have to entertain just anyone." Imperial concubine Ju swept her sleeves and returned to her room. "It's rude of me to visit so late at night. Big Brother Yarrow, I welcome you. However, there's no need for such a large army to press down on the border, right? It makes me feel like the soldiers are at the gates of a city. I'm so flustered." Yarrow Lei followed Li Fan and sat down beside the sea of tea. Wang Xiaoran was also woken up. As an apprentice, she obediently walked over and poured tea for the two of them. Li Fan nodded at Wang Xiaoran. This little girl was quite quick-witted. Then, Li Fan turned his attention back to Yarrow Lei. "This is indeed my fault. I didn't think it through. Yarrow Lei chuckled and apologized. "My subordinates were worried about my safety and insisted that Officer Li was in danger. I think they're worrying too much. How could there be any danger here with Officer Li, right? Yes. How could there be danger? My martial arts club is the safest place in G City." Li Fan agreed without hesitation. Those people made up stories to smear the reputation of the Seven Heroes Martial Arts Club. They've gone too far. In the past, there were always people who came to make trouble for our martial arts club. But now it's different. We have the royal guards to protect us. For law-abiding martial artists like us, The royal guards are our guardians, right? Yes, Officer Lee is right. Yarrow Lei seemed to be smiling insincerely. By the way, Big Brother Yarrow, it's getting late. You'd better go back and rest early. Li Fan reminded him with a smile. It's late. Rest early. We're all martial artists, so we should have a strict routine. That's right. Then I won't disturb Officer Lee's rest. Yarrow Lei seemed to have nothing to take advantage of, so he forced a smile and bowed to Li Fan, saying goodbye and leaving. This kind of monster can be easily dealt with. Li Fan took a sip of tea and looked at Wang Xiaoran, who was standing next to him, and said with a smile, Master, the royal guards are going overboard. They obviously noticed that you weren't here today and wanted to bully us. Wang Xiaoran complained, Master, when will we bully them too? Don't worry. I've bullied them plenty of times. Li Fan laughed and didn't take it seriously. Just watch the show. Soon, I'll make sure that Yarrow Lei doesn't even dare to enter my door. Li Fan said and ordered Wang Xiaoran, for these few days, tell the public that I'm in seclusion and don't let anyone disturb me. Li Fan had just absorbed a dragon, so he hadn't properly digested it yet. He decided to go into seclusion this time to fully comprehend the 9 dragons' will that he created. The foundation of the 9 dragons' will was still based on the 7 heroes' force. Li Fan planned to break through the 9th acupoint during this seclusion. If he could break through to the 9th star, he would probably be able to do whatever he wanted in this world. Then tell Imperial Consort Ju to help me protect the newly arrived Miss Takeda Ran for these 2 days. Will she agree? Don't worry. Just say that I'm asking her to. She will definitely agree. Although Imperial Consort Ju's temper was a little arrogant, she was very smart. She definitely knew that he had a reason for doing this. Then how long does Master plan to go into seclusion this time? I'll be out in about 7 or 8 days. But after that, I'll always say that I'm in seclusion. Li Fan already had a plan. He instructed Wang Xiaoran, then returned to his room and instructed Liu Wan. Finally, Li Fan walked into the underground training ground with a peace of mind and pulled open the mechanism of a secret room. The wall in front of him slowly opened, revealing a small partition inside. This was where Li Fan went into seclusion. Even Le Xiaohu and the others didn't know of its existence. The so-called seclusion was to wholeheartedly devote oneself to cultivation and not be disturbed by the outside world. Moreover, once Li Fan went into seclusion, he wouldn't eat or drink. He wouldn't touch rice or water for at least 7 days. Li Fan sat cross-legged on the futon in the room. His eyes were focused on his nose, and his nose was focused on his heart. His hands were folded in a circle, like an old monk in meditation. At the same time, he instantly entered his visualization world. He sat there cross-legged and began to meditate on the 9 dragons' will that he created. As Li Fan cultivated, the circulation speed of his dantian began to increase. A strong wave of vitality began to flow through his meridians, increasing Li Fan's strength. The foundation of the 9 dragons' will that Li Fan created was the 7 heroes' force, but the moves were different. If Xiaohu and Jiang Yi's inner force reached the advanced stage, they could also practice the 9 dragons' will that was 1 level higher than the 7 heroes' fist. Li Fan divided the 9 dragons' will into the 4 minor moves and the 5 major moves. Among the 4 minor moves, Li Fan had already used the guillotine many times. The remaining moves were Dragon Capturing Hand, War Dragon Roar, and Dragon Subduing Sword. Li Fan decided to rename the guillotine to Dragon Subduing Platform, which was more in line with the 4 minor moves. The 5 major moves were Profound Dragon Ice Palm, Thunder Dragon Heavenly Punishment, Golden Dragon True Body, Dragon Traveling the 9 Heavens, and Supreme Dragon Fist. Some of these moves originated from the 7 Heroes Fist, while others originated from the Dragon Body technique. Now, they were all modified by Li Fan and became his top moves. Chapter 1227. 9 days. Li Fan spent a total of 9 days in seclusion. Every day, the scenery that Li Fan saw in the visualization world was different. On the first day, when Li Fan entered the Mind Sea, his reflection in the water slowly stood up. He emerged from the water and stood in front of Li Fan, looking straight at him. He was different from the original Heaven's Chosen One. Although this figure still looked like Li Fan, his body was emitting a slight chill. At the same time, one of his right hands was a dragon's claw. The dragon's claw was ferocious and covered with black scales. The end of the claw was abnormally sharp, as if it was a small steel knife. This should be the current state of his body. Li Fan pondered for a while and roughly guessed. The you in this form should be the me in the inner world. Li Fan looked at the other party and roughly understood. He sighed and said to the figure, "It seems that you really are a monster." The other party did not make a sound, as if he could not hear Li Fan's words. He stood there, dumbfounded and motionless. "All right, since that's the case, let's go back to our own business." Since the mind sea was so big, Li Fan was not afraid that this kid would take up some space. He walked to the side, stepped on the ground with one foot, and raised the other, standing on one leg. Li Fan's first move was to practice the guillotine, which had been renamed as the dragon-slaying platform. Although the guillotine was powerful, Li Fan felt that it lacked a sense of lethality. The guillotine only chopped off people's heads. As for the dragon-slaying platform, it could even chop off dragons. If he wanted to make this kick even more powerful, he would need some special technique to exert force. Li Fan thought hard but did not know how to improve. However, at this moment, the figure that had been standing there quietly suddenly moved. He leaped and quickly approached Li Fan. At the same time, he twisted his waist and swept his leg towards Li Fan's neck. Li Fan was shocked and subconsciously wanted to dodge. However, after this kick, it was as if the air around Li Fan had been sucked dry, causing him to stagnate for a moment. It was as if someone had locked him in place with shackles, waiting for the blade to behead him. By the time Li Fan could move, that sharp, blade-like calf had already swept across his neck. Pu. Li Fan's head was kicked away, and his figure quickly disappeared from the sea of consciousness. By the time Li Fan opened his eyes, he had already returned to the real world. He was sitting cross-legged on a praying mat in the secret chamber, drenched in cold sweat. Li Fan wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, unable to calm down for a long time. The person in his heart had actually moved. Moreover, his move seemed to be even purer, without any flaws to speak of. Li Fan understood that the person living in his heart was like a wild beast. He had no concept of right and wrong, only a fanaticism towards martial arts and strength. This was the true state that a martial artist should have, forgetting all emotions, disregarding family and friends, and wholeheartedly practicing martial arts. However, Li Fan couldn't do this. His heart still had the mortal world and the secular world. However, the other him had completed what he couldn't do and practiced the moves that he couldn't. Treating others as a teacher, treating oneself as a teacher, Li Fan could be considered a weirdo. However, this kind of opportunity was extremely rare. Only Li Fan had such an opportunity. He readjusted his state and once again entered the visualization world in his heart. As Li Fan entered here, the other him who was immersed in the sea of consciousness once again slowly rose up and stood in front of him. "Hi, we meet again." Li Fan looked at the other him in front of him. "Let me give you a name. Seeing that you look like a half-human and half-dragon, why don't I call you Dragon Prince?" Li Fan looked at his other self with a bit of narcissism. This handsome appearance really does look like the handsome Dragon Prince. En. He hooked his finger at the Dragon Prince. Come, use the dragon subduing platform again." However, the other party didn't move and ignored his words. Fuck, disobedient again. Li Fan was a bit annoyed. This guy clearly belonged to him, but he actually didn't listen to him. Since words don't work, let's use force. With that, Li Fan directly raised his leg and kicked towards the Dragon Prince's head. The power of his kick was definitely not light. Moreover, he imitated the dragon subduing platform from before. When he kicked out, the air in front of him was also stirred up, forming a special cyclone that locked the other party's body. However, his cyclone was obviously not mature enough and was unable to completely lock the Dragon Prince. The Dragon Prince's body suddenly moved. His waist moved along with his calf and swung it greatly. With a swing, not only did he shatter Li Fan's cyclone, he also successfully counterattacked Li Fan. With a kick, he once again shattered Li Fan's head. Fuck me. Li Fan opened his eyes again and returned to the real world. This son of a bitch is really powerful. After Li Fan finished cursing, he was a bit silent. It seemed like he was cursing himself. No, I don't believe it. Li Fan once again entered his own consciousness. Every time he came here, the figure in his mind would slowly rise. It's all because of me. I don't believe that I can't learn this dragon-subduing platform. Li Fan jumped up and fought with the Dragon Prince. Li Fan didn't know how many times he was beaten back by the Dragon Prince, but he didn't give up and kept returning to his own consciousness to challenge the Dragon Prince. The time outside and Li Fan's consciousness were obviously not synchronized. As Li Fan became stronger, the time in his consciousness became slower and slower. Now, one day in the outside world, he could walk for a year in his consciousness. After a year, Li Fan finally understood this dragon-subduing platform. I don't even have the concept of time. Li Fan once again stood in front of the Dragon Prince. He stretched his muscles and said slowly, "It's been almost a year. This time, I won't lose to you." Roar. Feeling Li Fan's fighting spirit, the Dragon Prince directly roared and used his martial arts instincts to instantly appear in front of Li Fan. With a dragon-subduing platform, he directly locked Li Fan's body and kicked his head. But this time, Li Fan was already prepared. He had already adapted to the Dragon Prince's cyclone seal. He followed the direction of the airflow and moved to a different position, avoiding the other party's calf. At the same time, Li Fan turned around and kicked. His waist moved the strength of his calf, and with the strength of a battle axe, he instantly chopped down. The Dragon Prince's body stiffened. This time, Li Fan's large success cyclone finally locked onto him. Fart. The Dragon Prince's head was kicked away and rolled on the ground. Li Fan stood there and watched as Long Taizi picked up his head and put it back on his neck. No matter what, thank you. Next, let's practice the second move. Li Fan raised his hand and gathered his essence in his palm, dragon capturing hand. Chapter 1228. 9 days had passed, but Li Fan had spent 9 years in his mind. The stronger one's mental energy was, the slower the mental world would pass. Ordinary people could also reach this state, but they could only do it at special times. It was at the moment of death that they would meet. A person could live his life again in an instant after death. However, Li Fan's mental energy had reached a certain level. After all, he was the inheritor of the Shongfang sword. It would not do for his mental energy to be weak. His mental energy alone was equivalent to that of thousands of people. However, he had not reached his strongest state. It was like an ordinary person whose mental energy was at its strongest before death. An instant was a lifetime. That was to say, a short 2 or 3 seconds could pass in one's mind for decade. As for Li Fan, 1 day was 1 year. He was still far from it. However, there were only 2 situations in which one could reach that state. It was either a god or a ghost. Li Fan looked at the Dragon Crown Prince in front of him as his essence surged continuously. We have been fighting for 9 years. I have improved a lot in these 9 years. After we finish practicing the Supreme Dragon Fist today, our training will be over. The other party did not say anything. He only looked at Li Fan. Come, let's have our final battle today. Li Fan gathered his essence on his fist as his gaze landed on the Dragon Crown Prince. This Supreme Dragon Fist was derived from the Lion King Fist. Fist techniques pursued one word: speed. As the saying went, speed was the only thing unbeatable in the world of martial arts. The Dragon Crown Prince seemed to have sensed the enemy's thoughts. Every time Li Fan wanted to practice something, the Dragon Crown Prince would execute it immediately. The Dragon Crown Prince stepped forward with his left foot and took a horse stance. However, when Li Fan stood there, he did not take a horse stance but a boxing stance. The horse stance was the foundation of China's martial arts. It emphasized stability. A person who practiced martial arts had to learn the horse stance from the moment they learned how to walk. The more stable the horse stance was, the more stable the punch would be. However, The boxing stance was the opposite. In actual combat, one's feet moved continuously, changing the distance. Relying on this kind of movement, one could dodge the opponent's attack while looking for the opponent's weakness to attack. When Chen Zhen returned from studying abroad in Japan, he used this boxing footwork to sweep through the martial arts world at that time. Li Fan had been fighting the Dragon Prince with a horse stance, but every time he punched, he was not as fast as the Dragon Prince. The Dragon Prince's punching method was purer and more primitive. He could always sense Li Fan's thoughts. He was one step faster than Li Fan. If Xiao Chen wanted to defeat the Dragon Crown Prince, he would have to completely change the method of the Supreme Dragon Fist. Li Fan's footsteps wandered, and he completely let himself move. A golden light flashed on the Dragon Prince's body, and the fist aura instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. Just at this instant, Li Fan took a step back. His body turned into an afterimage as he brushed past the Dragon Crown Prince's manifested fist, dodging the Supreme Dragon Fist. However, the Dragon Prince took another step forward and punched again. In this world of consciousness, the Dragon Prince had endless power. His fist energy once again arrived in front of Li Fan. Li Fan shifted his feet and slid to the side again, dodging the fist energy. When Li Fan dodged, he completely closed his eyes. The Supreme Dragon Fist was no slower than the speed of sound. It was impossible to see it with one's eyes. The only way was to rely on one's mind eye. This mind's eye was an extremely high realm for martial fighters. Through rich combat experience and the strange movements of the surrounding air, one could judge the other party's movements. One's eyes could lie, but one's energy could not. Li Fan relied on his control of energy to dodge the other party's manifested fist. The Supreme Dragon Fist seemed to be ineffective against Li Fan. "It's my turn, right?" Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes, which gave off a golden light. At the same time, he shook his shoulder and sent the Dragon Prince flying. A fist-sized bloody hole appeared in the Dragon Prince's chest. He fell to the ground, and the bloody hole in his chest slowly healed. "It's about time." Li Fan opened his eyes again and returned to his secret room. 9 days had passed, and Li Fan felt hungry. Originally, Xiao Chen should have gone out to get food every 7 days. He did not expect to be locked up for 9 days this time. "It's about time." Li Fan slowly stood up and stretched. 9 days had passed in the outside world, but 9 years had passed in his heart. However, Li Fan did not find these 9 years unbearable at all. This was because he could feel his improvement every day. Although it wasn't the growth of his inner force, his moves had taken a huge leap forward. The 9 Dragons art had also matured, perfected to the point of having no openings. It's time to go out and take a stroll. Li Fan felt hungry. He had not eaten delicacies in a long time and was craving for them. This was especially so for the pickled vegetables. He had not had a proper meal since he arrived here. When Li Fan finally came out of closed-door cultivation, he prepared to instruct the chef to prepare this famous dish from the northeast to satisfy his hunger. "Master, congratulations on coming out of closed-door cultivation." Li Fan's aura was unique. Not long after he came out, the sensitive Jiang Yi had already sensed it. She half knelt in the underground training ground, holding a basin of water and a hot towel in her hands, waiting for Li Fan. "Be good." Li Fan washed his face and wiped it with the towel. "How many days have I been here?" Li Fan only felt that 7 or 8 days had passed. He did not have a good sense of time. 9 days. Jiang Yi remembered it clearly. "Well, is there any movement these few days?" "You were not here these few days, and the martial arts world has been in chaos." Jiang Yi laughed. "The #1 boxing master of Japan, Takeda, has overturned the entire southern martial arts world. Almost all the martial arts schools have been overturned by him. Takeda. 9 days is enough for him to destroy many martial arts schools." Li Fan chuckled. "The higher-ups must be anxious." "I'm so anxious." Jiang Yi knew what her master was thinking. The Sima family has fought with him, and they were completely defeated. In the entire Sima family, in the entire imperial army, no one is his opponent. Then what about Murong Bo? What about Murong Ying? Murong Ying is now abroad, and can't come back. Jiang Yi immediately reported, Murong Bo is also in seclusion, and can't come out. Good, now there will be a good show to watch. Li Fan gently rubbed his stomach, let's not talk about this first, let's eat. I'm afraid you can't eat well. Jiang Yi pointed outside, Yarrow Lei of the Imperial Army is outside, and has been waiting for you for 3 days. Oh, he is homeless. Master, you must be joking. Yarrow Lei is waiting for you to come out. What, you want me to fight with Takeda? Li Fan already knew, from Takeda Land's strength, it could be seen that this grandfather of hers was definitely not an empty title. And the Sima family had a few experts, but this generation began to indulge in their official career, and their martial arts were getting worse and worse. The other martial arts experts were either dead or crippled. China's martial arts world was already finished. Chapter 1229. In less than a month, Takeda Tsuyoshi almost swept up the martial arts circle that had been destroyed by the Huaxia government once again. If it was within China, it wouldn't matter who defeated these people. After all, it was their own business. But it was different this time. The one who came to challenge the Chinese martial arts world was Takeda. Now, a large number of reporters appeared around Takeda. Some of these reporters were self-media, some were online media, and some were magazine companies. This matter had become public opinion. Even the government couldn't suppress it because some of the media companies were backed by Japanese and American investors. The matter couldn't be suppressed anymore. An expert from Japan challenging the Chinese martial arts world was now a hot topic on Weibo. Everyone in China was asking the same question. Was there no one in China? In such a big country, they couldn't even beat others in martial arts if they couldn't play football. There were even people who made a poster on Weibo. It was a picture of Takeda defeating a Chinese martial arts master with a punch. Below it were a few words. Sick man of East Asia. This agitated all the people in China. The higher-ups also gave an order to find a Chinese expert who could defeat Takeda. Moreover, they could only win, not lose. The Sima family sent out all their experts. Even Sima Hui went up personally. However, he was defeated by Takeda in 7 moves and retreated in shame. The only general-level expert in the Imperial Guards was Murong Bo. And the one who was on par with him was Chosen One. However, the Chosen One had mysteriously disappeared. And the heir of the Murong family, the leader of the martial arts world, Murong Ying, was currently abroad on a secret mission. She wouldn't be back for a while. Even at the fastest, it would take her a month to return. The Imperial Guard's Chosen One was still in development and couldn't be used at the moment. As for Zero, he was also adjusting. If it really didn't work, he could only let Zero do it. However, it was obvious that Zero was not the choice that the Chinese government wanted the most. Their eyes fell on Li Fan. The Chinese martial arts world, which used to be full of experts, was now only left with Li Fan. The martial arts world of one person. Yarrow Lei is anxious. Master, do you want to see him? Let him rest. Li Fan said, I'm still hungry. Of course, Master. Eating is more important. Jiang Yi hurriedly said, I'll instruct the chef to cook. Master, do you want to go up the stairs? How can we do that? We're in our own house, so why are we taking the stairs? Follow me to the cafeteria openly. Yes, Master. Jiang Yi was elated. This was the master he knew. Li Fan had been in seclusion for 9 days. When he came out, he already had the standard bearing of a master. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he was a grandmaster. Yarrow Lei didn't stay in his office for the past few days. He went to Li Fan's martial arts club every day. There was nothing else in this martial arts club, but he drank a lot of tea. Every day, Li Fan would come into seclusion. He would go into seclusion early in the morning and late at night, but he would not come out. Yarrow Lei used to hope that Li Fan would not be in this martial arts club every day. Now, he was thinking about it day and night. He wished that Li Fan would appear in front of him with a spell. If Li Fan still didn't come out, he wouldn't be able to keep his position. I say, Xiaoran, when will your grandmaster come out of seclusion? Seeing Wang Xiaoran passing by, Yao Lei hurriedly grabbed her hand and asked, Master Yao, how many times do you have to ask in a day? If I can't see Officer Li, it's never too many to ask 100 times. Yao Lei drank tea and his mouth became light. Will your grandmaster be able to come out? Master Yao, it's only been a few days. Wang Xiaoran was also clever. She answered neatly, it's normal for a martial arts master to go into seclusion for 3 to 5 months. Ayo, 3 to 5 months, how can we afford to wait? Yao Lei said, his eyes fell on the thin man, and then he pulled him and said, You, go and call your grandmaster here. My lord, I really can't help you with this. The thin man hurriedly waved his hand, the grandmaster's seclusion place, not to mention me, even master and the others can't find it. What, my words don't work? Yao Lei raised his eyebrows. How can that be? Of course your words work. You're a high-ranking official here. How about this, other than looking for grandmaster, anything else is fine. You tell me, do you want to find a prostitute or a gigolo? Just say the word and I'll find them for you. Get lost. Yao Lei was so angry that he drove the thin man away. He was not confident and did not know what to do. If Li Fan could appear now, he would even kneel down and call him grandpa. Xiaoran, ask the kitchen to make me some good streaky pork. I don't want anything else, but this. And that pickled cabbage, don't use the southern pickled cabbage, it must be the authentic northeastern pickled cabbage, understand? A familiar voice came into his ear. Yao Lei turned his head and saw that Li Fan, whom he yearned for day and night, was walking towards the kitchen with his second disciple, Jiang Yi. Li, Officer Li? Yao Lei's eyes lit up, and he almost kneeled down and called Li Fan grandpa. Yao Lei hurriedly suppressed this thought in his heart. Officer Li, you're finally out. Yao Lei's butt was on fire as he hurriedly jumped up from the chair and walked quickly towards Li Fan. I've been waiting for so long. Yo, big brother Yao, why are you here? Li Fan's gaze finally fell on Yao Lei, and then he softly scolded Jiang Yi. You see, big brother Yao is here, why didn't you tell me so that I could come out earlier to meet him? Yes, master, it's my fault. Jiang Yi was very quick-witted and immediately took the blame. In any case, she would not suffer any losses. Furthermore, she was very happy to take the blame for her master. I'll talk to her later. Big brother Yao, don't be angry. How could I? We heard that you were in closed-door cultivation, so we didn't dare to disturb you. Now that you're out, it's fine. Aya, big brother Yao, look, it's time for lunch. I told the chef to make some northeastern dishes, come and eat with us. But, come, big brother Yao, this way. Li Fan did not give Yao Lei a chance to continue and directly walked towards the dining room. Officer Li? Officer Li? Yao Lei hurriedly followed behind Li Fan, like a shadow following behind him. The few of them walked all the way to the dining room. Li Fan's dining room was not very big, but it was just enough to seat more than 10 people. The chef was currently preparing a meal for Li Fan. After Li Fan sat down, he ordered someone to bring a small cup of soju and placed it in front of the two of them. Come, big brother Yao, let's drink a cup or two. Yao Lei had no choice. Just as he raised his cup, Li Fan sighed. Last time, Brother Zhai also drank with me here. I didn't expect that you would go in right after drinking. Yao Lei nearly spat out the mouthful of wine. Chapter 12:30. Damn it, this wine, should I drink it or not? It was too awkward to say that. Yao Lei thought for a long time, and finally put the wine back on the table. No, it was too depressing, better not drink it. The more Yao Lei thought about it, the more upset he felt. But he could not say anything, and could only be depressed. Come, don't stand on ceremony, treat it like your own home, eat more. Li Fan picked up his chopsticks, and gave Yao Lei a pass, and then started eating himself. For a whole 9 days, Li Fan did not eat or drink. But for ordinary people, if they were hungry for a long time, and suddenly given a meal, they might eat a little. After all, their stomachs would be small. But Li Fan was different. He was a martial artist, and could convert the energy in the food into vitality for his own use. Therefore, no matter how much he ate, it could only make Li Fan stronger. But the energy in the food was less, and only ordinary people could eat their fill. Otherwise, if a martial artist could become stronger just by eating, wouldn't it be too easy to practice martial arts? Yarrow Lei wanted to speak a few times, but Li Fan buried himself in eating, not giving him any chance at all. Chief Li? Yarrow Lei called a few more times, and Li Fan suddenly raised his head and looked at Yarrow Lei. Yarrow Lei was overjoyed, thinking that Li Fan had finally finished eating. Unexpectedly, Li Fan pointed at Yarrow Lei with his chopsticks, and reminded him. Big brother Yarrow, don't talk when eating, don't talk when sleeping. If there's anything, wait until after eating. With that said, he continued to eat his table full of food, and threw Yarrow Lei aside again. Yarrow Lei looked at the table full of food, and that Li Fan who was wolfing down the food, and did not know whether to laugh or cry. What should I do, wait or not? Forget it, I've already waited for so many days, a little longer won't make a difference. Yarrow Lei sat at the side, not in the mood to eat, and waited for Li Fan to finish eating as soon as possible. Li Fan ate 9 times. The chef kept bringing the dishes, and he kept sweeping away the food. Yarrow Lei sat there and waited. He waited from noon to 6 o'clock in the evening. Yarrow Lei was about to go crazy. However, Li Fan finally put down his chopsticks and looked at the clock on the wall. Yo, it's already 6 in the afternoon. Li Fan picked up a tissue and wiped his mouth. It's time for lunch. Yarrow Lei heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally finished eating. It's time for dinner. Yarrow Lei took a deep breath and suppressed the rage in his heart. Damn it. Are you a pig? However, I can't eat anymore. I'm full. Yarrow Lei's heart was beating like a roller coaster, going up and down, and he almost fainted. Officer Li, now that you've had your fill, it's time to talk about us, right? Ah, so you're looking for me? Li Fan looked at Yarrow Lei in surprise. Ayaya, brother Yao, why didn't you say so earlier? I thought you were here to eat with me, so I prepared a table full of dishes. Yarrow Lei wanted to kill someone. Come, let's not talk here. Come to my tea room. Li Fan also prepared a small tea room on the balcony on the 2nd floor. Here, one could enjoy the breeze, drink tea, and look at the flowers and plants in the courtyard. It was not bad. Li Fan drank pure tea. It was very ordinary, but it was good for the body. Officer Li. Can you listen to my situation first? Speak. Li Fan held the teacup and smiled at the minister-level officer opposite him. Look, the sun is about to set. I'll rest at sunset. Before the sun sets, let's finish the matter. Li Fan's words seemed to have given him an ultimatum. This matter is very important. It can't be delayed. It's going to sunset soon. Officer Li, you're an imperial sword and a golden escort. The pugilistic world is facing destruction, and we're just waiting for you to come out. Pugilistic world? There's still a need for destruction. Li Fan laughed when he heard that. Look at China, where's the pugilistic world? You can't say that. The matter is like this. Yarrow Lei made a long story short and roughly explained the matter to Li Fan. Currently, it concerns China's honor. We can't let these islanders shit on our heads. It's just a martial arts competition. You guys are taking it too seriously. Li Fan did not mind. When Takeda wins, he will naturally return to Japan. He absolutely can't win. Yarrow Lei hurriedly said, if he wins, where will China's face be? Face is something you have to fight for yourself. Li Fan said calmly, back then, China was filled with experts. It could be said that there were as many experts as dogs, and grandmasters were everywhere. But now, you see, I can't even find someone who can fight Takeda. This is decided by the higher-ups. We can't do anything about it. Yarrow Lei spread out his hands. Moreover, China still has people. Isn't there your imperial sword? You mean, you want me to fight with Takeda? Takeda was originally looking for you to challenge, Officer Li. Yarrow Lei hurriedly reminded. The higher-ups have a lot of trust in you. They are waiting for you to beat up the Japanese and strengthen our China's prestige. This matter, let me think about it. This is a mission given by the higher-ups. You actually want to think about it? The Imperial Sword doesn't have to abide by the mission. Li Fan laughed. If I don't even have this little benefit, how can I be an Imperial Sword? Officer, you don't care about China's honor at all? Oh, since you asked that, I have to answer you properly. Li Fan chuckled. Who was the one who personally destroyed this honor, and now wants me to take the blame? All right, you can go back. Li Fan began to chase the guest out. I want to rest. Officer, what about the martial arts competition? What's the rush? Li Fan stood there and looked back at Yao Lei. He is the one challenging me, not the other way around. When he comes to my door, I will naturally fight with him. Ah, you agree? Of course, because I am a martial artist. Just as Li Fan was about to go out, the door of the tea room was pushed open. Takeda Lan actually rushed in, bowed to Yao Lei, and then to Li Fan, 45 degrees to show her apology. I'm sorry, I will definitely not agree to this martial arts competition. Who are you? Just as Yao Lei finished speaking, he suddenly frowned, as if someone beside him was reminding him. Li Fan also faintly heard someone talking. This Yao Lei must have put earphones in his ears, and there should be a camera on his body, recording everything here. However, Li Fan had already expected this, so he did not care about this little trick. Miss Takeda, so you are here. Yao Lei looked at Li Fan a few more times, as if he was trying to guess Li Fan's purpose. To actually place the enemy's daughter by his side, did Li Fan have this kind of hobby? Yes, Mr. Yao, I request to stop this martial arts competition. Chapter 1231. Li Fan got a headache. This girl is starting again. Miss Takeda, your words. I don't understand. Yao Lei was taken aback. What was going on? This Takeda family's young miss actually came to stop the fight between the two families. Even if Yao Lei is extremely smart, he still can't figure out the current situation. This Takeda Lan, what exactly is she thinking? What does the Takeda family want in this fight? But she is just a small Takeda family woman. No matter what, she cannot stop this fight. This martial arts competition was absolutely necessary. Miss Takeda, this is a private conversation. Li Fan tried to be polite. Although it is very rude, no one can stop my determination. Takeda Lan said word by word, I ask Mr. Li to understand me. I understand you, you also have to understand me. Li Fan wanted to roll his eyes. Jiangyi, please take Miss Takeda away. Li Fan shouted. Mr. Li, Mr. Yao. Is this martial arts competition that important to all of you? Miss Takeda, I think you may be mistaken. Yao Lei frowned, looking straight at Takeda Lan. It's your grandfather who initiated the challenge, not us. I will naturally go and persuade my grandfather. Takeda Tsuyoshi has already overturned dozens of martial arts schools. Now even if he wants to stop, he can't. Yao Lei's voice rose an octave. Does he think China is easy to bully? What he said basically represents what I mean. Li Fan sighed, looking at Takeda Lan. Miss Takeda, your heart is good, so I respect you very much. But I understand you, you also have to understand me. This kind of martial arts competition, for a martial artist, is incomparably sacred. As long as Takeda Tsuyoshi challenges me, there is no factor that can interfere with the fight between the two of us. Your effort, although out of good intentions, I think, whether it is me or your grandfather, neither will accept it. Takeda Lan's body slightly trembled, seemingly not knowing how to defend Li Fan's words. Li Fan's words were clear, making her unable to refute. He was the same as his grandfather, a pure martial artist. If he continued to dissuade her like this, it would instead make him seem insensible. But Takeda Lan had been thinking about it for the past few days. There was a huge conspiracy behind this martial arts duel. There's such a terrifying conspiracy behind this competition. It's no longer just a competition. To me and your grandfather, this is purely a martial arts competition. Li Fan waved his hand. All right, Miss Takeda, let's talk later. See our guest out. A wave of primordial chi acted on Takeda-lan, and the beautiful nurse flew out of the room. In the blink of an eye, she landed outside and was caught by Jiang Yi. Big brother Yarrow, you should go back too. Without waiting for Yarrow Lei to speak, Li Fan waved his hand again, and Yarrow Lei's body was blown off the second-floor balcony, landing on the ground. Yarrow Lei's face flushed red. He hesitated again and again, but still left resentfully. Li Fan was a little annoyed now. The Chinese martial arts world was already declining, and now that he had to carry it alone, the pressure on his shoulders was indeed a little heavier. But it was good for him to carry it, at least it was better than letting Murong Ying carry it. That woman was too strong, who knew what would happen if this matter fell on her head. Takeda-lan was right about one thing. Behind this competition, there was a huge conspiracy. If Takeda-lan won against him, the three great families of the island would probably come out in full force, completely destroying the Chinese martial arts world and becoming the only representative of the modern world. When the island invaded China, part of the victory was due to the protection net of the martial arts world. Once the protection net was gone, it would be very disadvantageous to China. And if Li Fan won, he would not get any benefits from it. For China, the most terrifying enemy was an uncontrollable expert. This was how the martial arts world was destroyed, and once Li Fan won, China would think of ways to control him. If it couldn't be controlled, it could only be destroyed. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. Takeda-lan, this little girl, had already figured out the mystery behind this. That was why she ran in and tried to stop him. However, this chariot of fate had already started. Whether it was him or Takeda-lan, they could not escape. The most urgent thing was to establish a sect as soon as possible. After cultivating a group of disciples, he would return to the Li family island. When he arrived there, it would be his own territory, and naturally he would be free to do whatever he wanted. Grandmaster, there is a letter of challenge. At this moment, the door was pushed open again, and the thin man walked in carefully with awe on his face. A letter of challenge? Li Fan saw a letter in the thin man's hand. Yeah, I just saw it in front of the door, and there was a stone on it. The thin man quickly said, I don't know who sent it, and I didn't dare to look at it, so I quickly brought it to you, Grandmaster. Well, thank you. Li Fan nodded, reached out his hand, and the letter was immediately pulled out from the thin man's hand, slid in the air, and fell into Li Fan's hand. Sure enough. Just as Li Fan expected, this was Takeda-lan's letter of challenge. It was written in traditional brush like a sword edge, which should be written by Takeda-lan himself. This old man has already found this place. Thinking about it, it's impossible to get lost after alerting the media. The next day at 6 o'clock in the morning, I will fight with you in the Seven Heroes Martial Arts School. Li Fan put the letter aside and smiled. I didn't expect to have a fight just after coming out. Well, Takeda-lan, consider yourself unlucky. I will use you as a sacrifice for my new fist technique. That night, Li Fan did not sleep well. It was not that Li Fan had pressure, but in the middle of the night, someone came to find him. The window of Li Fan's room was gently pushed open, and a man in black silently slipped in from the window. This man was like a cat. His feet stepped on the wooden floor without making any sound. Under the moonlight, he slowly moved toward the bed. At the same time, he pulled out a jet-black katana. This blade was very well hidden in the dark, not reflecting any light. The man slowly came to Li Fan's bedside. He slowly raised the katana in his hand, and aimed at Li Fan's thigh. According to the higher-ups, this time, they can only injure Li Fan, but not kill him. As long as he is injured, he will definitely lose the fight with Takeda-lan tomorrow. And this man was also an expert of the Koga Ryu. At this time, Li Fan was highly valued. The martial arts school was surrounded by 3 layers of soldiers, but he still easily infiltrated. The Koga Ryu ninja katana suddenly slashed a black light, stabbing toward Li Fan's thigh. There was no sound in the air, everything happened in silence. Chapter 1232. This black blade directly broke through the darkness and stabbed towards Li Fan's thigh. If he doesn't die, his thigh is the best choice. But at this moment, Li Fan, who was sleeping soundly under the quilt, suddenly lifted the quilt and kicked the knife with his foot. Clang! The blade was kicked out and directly stabbed into the ceiling above his head. The ninja was shocked. He didn't expect Li Fan to see through his assassination. "Good evening, my friend." Li Fan sat up and looked at the ninja in front of him with a smile in the darkness. The ninja didn't dare to hesitate. He lifted his mask and directly spat out a scarlet flame at Li Fan. The flame burned with a burning heat, reflecting the murderous eyes of the ninja, and rushed towards Li Fan. Li Fan opened his mouth and directly sucked the flame into his mouth. Under the ninja's astonished gaze, he swallowed it into his stomach. "Nani?" The ninja was shocked. "This Li Fan, is he a monster? Such a warm gift, I can't bear it. Young man, I'll return it to you." Li Fan said, opened his mouth and directly spat out a fireball. The ninja spat out scattered waves of fire, but what Li Fan spat out was a scarlet fireball. Its speed was faster and instantly arrived in front of the ninja. The ninja jumped up and hung upside down on the ceiling. He pulled out the tachi and slashed. Puff! The fireball was split in half, and the ninja already had the idea of escaping. But he is a Koga Ryu ninja. The mission is far more important than his life. The mission is to injure Li Fan and pave the way for the future of the Yamato Empire. For this great wish, even if he has to sacrifice his life, he will not hesitate. The Koga Ryu ninja made up his mind. He faced death with equanimity. Grabbing his tachi, he once again fiercely rushed towards Li Fan. Generally, ninja swordsmanship is practiced in assassination. But this ninja practiced the Takeda family's sword technique. As he dove down, his saber swung upwards, aiming straight for Li Fan's head. Li Fan leaned back and dodged his opponent's knife. At the same time, he stretched out his right hand and activated his Yuan Qi in his palm. The leaves hanging on the branches outside the window immediately fell off and flew into Li Fan's palm. They compressed, rotated, and condensed. In the blink of an eye, a palm-sized emerald green sword appeared and floated in Li Fan's hand. 9 Dragons Art, 4th Style, Dragon Subduing Sword. The ninja's tachi had already changed direction, and it slashed towards Li Fan's head. Clang! The falling leaf sword in Li Fan's hand was even faster. In the blink of an eye, it pierced through the ninja's throat. With a thud, the ninja was nailed to the ceiling. The ninja's throat was pierced, and his body fell limply to the ground. Li Fan pushed him to the side. "You actually want to stop me to this point?" Li Fan glanced at the corpse lying on the ground. Fortunately, Xiaowan was in school today, otherwise, she would have been startled. "Is there an assassin?" Unknowingly, Imperial concubine Ju, wearing a white dress, was sitting by the window. The faint moonlight shone on her body, making her look so beautiful, like a fairy descending to the world. "Oh, how come you're also alarmed?" Li Fan was a little surprised. "The noise is so loud that I can't sleep well." Imperial concubine Ju looked at Li Fan. "It's not the way to go on like this. Why don't you take over the world? I will support you." In the past, Imperial concubine Ju wholeheartedly wanted to replace Emperor Ming to become the Empress. Now, she no longer had such a thought. Instead, she wanted to help Li Fan become the Emperor. "Hey, I don't have such an idea." Li Fan quickly rejected Imperial concubine Ju's proposal. "You want me to open a martial arts school, establish a sect, these are all not a problem. But you want me to govern a country, forget it, I really don't have this talent. This Empress will help you, right? When that dog Emperor governed the court, he didn't ask for my opinion. Forget it." Li Fan once again refused. "Don't mention it in the future, I really don't have such an idea. I am a martial artist, not a politician." "Well, if you don't like it, then I won't mention it in the future." "Yes, and I also have my own territory. When I return to Li Family Island, there won't be these annoying assassins." Li Fan glanced at the corpse on the ground. Although this person is a Koga Ryu ninja, he seems to be a Takeda family member. If Takeda gang wins, the Takeda family will undoubtedly be the biggest winner. Imperial concubine Ju intuitively analyzed, although the method is a bit despicable, it is undoubtedly an insurance. But didn't these people think that if Takeda gang knew that I was injured, would he still come to compete? You are also a martial artist, even if your leg is injured, you will pretend to be fine and compete. Imperial concubine Ju's words made Li Fan speechless. You martial practitioners are really too stupid. Hey, you're talking as if you're not a martial artist. I am the Imperial concubine. Imperial concubine Ju sweetly smiled. The rules of martial artists have nothing to do with me. Moreover, in the current Wulin, there are not many martial artists left. The Wulin is dying, Li Fan. Unfortunately, you were born in the wrong era. If he was born in ancient times, Li Fan would indeed become a famous master of the Wulin. But now, the Wulin is dying. No matter how hard Li Fan tries, he can't stop the disappearance of the Wulin. This is a kind of cultural sorrow, the sorrow of history. I'm a person who likes to be optimistic. Come, be happy, I'll give you some noodles, okay? Go to hell. Imperial concubine Ju waved her hand, stirred up a force, and pushed Li Fan back a step. Then, she turned over and floated down from the window, disappearing in front of Li Fan. This woman. Li Fan sighed. Can't she just take the opportunity to sleep or something? Li Fan suddenly remembered that recently it seemed to be Imperial concubine Ju's menstrual period. She was obviously a woman who practiced the immortal evil skill. How could she have a menstrual period? Humans are indeed a strange and mysterious animal. But now, should I still be considered a human? Li Fan ordered Le Xiaohu to come over and bury the man's body in the backyard overnight. Before the martial arts competition, Li Fan didn't want to make it public. He and Takeda wanted a fair and square battle. As for the political game, it could wait until after the martial arts competition. When they were done, the sky was already bright. There were already many media outside, all of them excited, waiting for the first release, or live broadcast of the martial arts competition. In modern society, the media has become a terrible dominant force of public opinion. Especially some of the media with foreign companies behind them, even the country found it difficult to control. In any case, there were hundreds of millions of people watching this martial arts competition. Chapter 1233. Wulin Style was a famous media company. They liked to publish news about fighting, such as national fighting competitions, friendly matches between China and Korea, or the United States, and so on. This media outlet was also one of the more authoritative fighting media outlets in the country. This time, they had also invited a professional fighter, Monk Kongming, a cadre of the Imperial Army, and a commentator from Wulin magazine. The three of them sat together, waiting to comment on this unparalleled battle. A group of reporters surrounded them, waiting to broadcast the duel live. Most of the spotlights were focused on two people. One was Takeda Tokishi, and the other was Li Fan. The place the two of them chose was the courtyard of the dojo, and there was an old locust tree in the middle of the courtyard. This old locust tree was inauspicious to most people. After all, a locust tree was a wooden ghost. But to Li Fan, it was no big deal. He believed that he was righteous, and could not be invaded by evil spirits. At this time, the courtyard was filled with reporters, and outside the courtyard stood many onlookers. The courtyard wall was not high to begin with, and by stepping on a stool, one could clearly see what was going on inside. There were really 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside, and if it wasn't for the police maintaining order at the scene, it would have been a riot. Other than many locals, there were also many Japanese students watching the scene. They were all from the nearby Ji University, and they came to cheer for Takeda Tokishi. Li Fan's side was quiet, and the skinny guy was about to pull a banner for Li Fan, but was stopped by Wang Xiaoran. Wang Xiaoran was smart, and she knew that her master hated these kinds of things. Li Fan saw that Takeda Lan was arguing with his grandfather about something. Takeda Tokishi sat opposite him. The old man was in his 60s or 70s, but he had white hair and a youthful face, well maintained, and his body was very sturdy. He was wearing a simple Japanese martial arts uniform, and when his eyelids drooped, he looked like an ordinary old man. But when he opened his eyes, the sharpness in his eyes made one's body go numb, as if a knife was placed on their necks. He listened to his precious granddaughter talk for a long time, and kept shaking his head. Takeda Lan finally knelt in front of her grandfather, placed her hands in front of her, and pressed her head on her hands, expressing the most sincere request. The camera flashed non-stop as the news media captured the scene. Meanwhile, a few commentators began to chat. The commentator of Wulin style, whose pen name was Fake Jie, had a thin face, pale skin, and a pair of shifty eyes. He wandered around the crowd. Seeing this scene, he immediately asked his two companions beside him. Master Kongming and Officer Yang, both of you are famous martial masters. This time, we will broadcast this fight live on a well-known online fighting platform. Hundreds of millions of viewers want to hear your professional opinions on this fight. Kongming was a famous warrior monk who often participated in friendly matches for the country. His body-hardening technique and Sonda Kung Fu were very good, and he had won glory for Huaxia in many competitions. At this time, Kongming was sitting there, carefully looking at Takeda and Li Fan. Hearing the false ring's question, he pondered for a moment and said, "This poor monk is a martial artist. For modern martial arts, the body shape often determines the outcome of a fight. Therefore, the weight class of the fight is calculated according to the heavyweight class. But at present, this Mr. Takeda's physique is obviously 2 levels higher than Li Fan's. Therefore, this poor monk is not very optimistic about Li Fan, and he may lose miserably." Humph. As a horse-rank cadre of the Imperial Army, Yang Lan didn't say anything. But hearing Kongming's words, she couldn't help but snort. "Oh! Officer Yang, do you have any different opinions? Although I don't like Li Fan, as a martial artist, I still have to say something fair." Yang Lan pointed at Li Fan. The one sitting there is the last sect leader of Wulin. His 7-hero fist is ranked on the Godly Skill Manual. Today, you can have a good look at the power of internal martial arts. Alright, I have only heard about the power of internal martial arts, but I have never seen it. Kongming nodded. I hope today will be an eye-opener for this poor monk. I have received your opinions, and the audience is divided into 2 factions, arguing endlessly. Let's change the topic. The false ring pointed at Takeda Lan, who was kneeling there. That should be Takeda's granddaughter, Miss Takeda Lan, right? What do you two think of her current actions? This. I can't guess. Yeah, I don't understand her thoughts. The false ring laughed, thinking, this time you two can't do it. You still have to look at me. I heard that these two seem to have an affair. The more the false ring said, the more excited he became. It seems that Takeda Lan and Li Fan are engaged, so Miss Takeda Lan will come out to stop her grandfather. Oh, compared to this unparalleled battle, this unparalleled love is obviously more attractive. Takeda Gang got up. Kongming's eyes lit up. The fight is about to begin. Yang Lan looked at the time. We have a good show to watch. Takeda Gang stood up, not even looking at Takeda Lan, who was kneeling on the ground. Lan, although I love you the most. But, regarding my fight, you have no right to criticize. Grandfather. Takeda Lan slightly raised her head, looking at her grandfather with some sadness. No matter what, will this fight continue? Li Fan, although I walked a distance, I'm already here. Takeda Gang walked to the center of the courtyard, standing under the locust tree, looking at Li Fan opposite. I heard that you defeated Murong Hong, right? Sure enough, heroes come from the youth. Why don't you compete with me? Murong Hong? Li Fan put down the teacup in his hand and slowly stood up. Today, he was also wearing the 7 Chivalry Sect uniform, black with golden text, and the dragon logo of the 7 Chivalry Sect printed on the back. In the surrounding cameras, he also walked in front of Takeda Gang with a majestic gait. I'm sorry, this person has been dead for decades. Murong Hong, Murong Bo's uncle, the strongest man in the Murong villa. But it was said that he was just a flash in the pan, only appearing in Jianghu for a few years before he died of illness. It was said that he was the top genius of the Murong family, but unfortunately, his life was short. So he has already passed away. When Takeda Gang heard this, he was shocked. But he touched his chin and thought for a moment. Think about it, I'm also old. Well, since I'm here, I'll finish this fight with you. After all, I heard that you also defeated the monster of the ape family. Oh, there is such a thing. However, those people can't be considered martial artists. They're just people who use demonic means. Takeda laughed heartily and suddenly took a step forward, bringing with it a powerful chi energy. Let's fight, Li Fan. I hope you can let me enjoy it. Chapter 1234. As soon as Takeda took a step forward, a powerful force immediately spread out, impacting the surroundings. The surrounding reporters took a step back and looked at Takeda in surprise. How powerful was that? No one had ever seen this kind of power before. They were all dumbfounded. Vital Energy Technique. This was a martial art created by Takeda Tsuyoshi. Its foundation was karate, and its power was shocking. Takeda, I'll let you know that there are still people in Huaxia Wulin. Li Fan also stretched out his hand and made a starting gesture. Hi. Takeda suddenly shouted, and then took a step forward, at the same time chopping towards Li Fan with a knife hand. Li Fan also waved his hand and used the Great Five style, Thunder Dragon Heavenly Punishment. Similarly, he waved his hand like a knife. Both of their arms collided first. Pa! A bolt of lightning exploded. Li Fan and Takeda both took a step back at the same time, re-examining each other. The old man, Takeda, had cultivated in Mount Fuji for his entire life. His strength was at least close to that of a martial saint. Moreover, Li Fan's strength was above the semisage realm. So, he probably wouldn't be a match for Takeda if he didn't rely on the unique ability of his vitality. Unexpectedly, Takeda was very happy. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that at such a young age, your inner strength would be so strong. I didn't come all the way to China in vain. With that, Takeda stepped forward and threw a straight punch straight at Li Fan's chest. Li Fan's feet slipped, avoiding Takeda's punch. At the same time, Li Fan lifted his right leg and lashed out. Little fourth style, Dragon Beheading Terrace. A powerful airflow rotated, locking Takeda's body. At the same time, Li Fan's foot had already reached Takeda's neck. Ha! Takeda shouted again, forcefully using his powerful internal energy to shatter the cyclone around him, moving to the side. Li Fan's kick struck empty air, and Takeda Tsuyoshi stepped forward again. The two of them fought again, and with several bangs, they exchanged 3 moves in a row. Takeda went from ecstasy to shock. At such a young age, Li Fan was using an unknown martial art. However, every move of this martial art was natural and flawless. If it wasn't for the fact that this kid's cultivation was slightly inferior to his, he might not be his match. The two of them approached each other again and exchanged blows. Takeda completely relied on his powerful internal force to deal with Li Fan's moves. Takeda couldn't help but want to applaud Li Fan's every move. Even he couldn't create such martial arts. Dragon Seizing Hand. Taking advantage of Takeda's punch, Li Fan suddenly stretched out his hand and pulled at him. A huge wave of essence wrapped around Takeda's body, pulling him up and directly lifting him into the air. Li Fan's Yuan Qi was like an iron clamp, clamping onto Takeda Tsuyoshi's neck. As long as he exerted more strength, he would be able to snap Takeda Tsuyoshi's neck. However, Takeda Tsuyoshi was, after all, a great master who was close to the sacred realm. He exerted his strength and separated his hands, tearing apart Li Fan's Yuan Qi and falling back to the ground. Takeda Tsuyoshi's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. Li Fan's moves were too much for him to handle. Kid, who is your master? Takeda Tsuyoshi finally couldn't help but ask. Sorry, I don't have a master. Li Fan's words made Takeda Tsuyoshi frown. This kid really doesn't have a master? Then where did he learn these moves from? Self-taught. Bang, bang, bang. After a few more moves, Takeda Tsuyoshi and Li Fan were neck and neck. Your moves are good, But practicing martial arts is not about the fists and feet, but the heart. Takeda Tsuyoshi suddenly pushed back Li Fan with a punch, and then said, "No matter how fancy your moves are, I can still defeat all of them with my strength." Takeda Tsuyoshi said and once again took a step forward, leaving a deep footprint on the ground. At the same time, he threw an ordinary straight punch toward Li Fan. A powerful force, driven by his fist aura, as if setting off a terrible storm, instantly arrived in front of Li Fan. The surrounding soil on the ground was abruptly scraped off a layer. For a moment, sand and stones were blown away, causing everyone to close their eyes and stagger left and right. Righteous fist. An ordinary straight punch, but it contained an earth-shattering power. But Li Fan did not retreat. He also took a step forward, and at the same time, a black dragon ice palm met Takeda Tsuyoshi's fist. Boom! A huge force directly spread out, impacting the surroundings, causing the ground under their feet to crack like a spider web. The gravel on the ground flew upside down, floating above the two people's heads, and then suddenly fell down. At the same time, a cold frost spread in all directions. At the same time, white frost slowly appeared on Takeda Tsuyoshi's right fist. If not for Takeda Tsuyoshi's strong internal force, perhaps he would have been frozen into an ice sculpture. Good. Takeda Tsuyoshi could not help but cheer for Li Fan. "Kid, you have a bright future." An even stronger power erupted from Takeda's fist. It was like a wave, each wave stronger than the last, directly hitting Li Fan's palm. Li Fan's mystic dragon ice palm couldn't withstand it either. After holding on for more than 10 seconds, he was finally sent flying. His entire body somersaulted in the air and then landed on the ground. He took 2 steps back and poured out all his strength. Takeda Tsuyoshi is indeed worthy of being Japan's #1 expert. His strength is right there. "Li Fan, show me your true strength." Takeda Tsuyoshi said loudly, "Isn't China's strongest martial art the martial god's true body? Could it be that it has been lost?" Takeda Tsuyoshi's understanding of China's martial arts is like the back of his hand. "Since that's the case, then I won't hide it anymore." Li Fan slightly spat out a mouthful of turbid air. His true chi was mobilized from his dantian and released into the outside air through the thousands of pores on his body. Martial god's true body? Do you know what it means? Obviously, it was the first time for the counterfeit ring to hear about it. He saw a group of people in the live broadcast room asking about it, so he asked the 2 experts beside him. "I haven't seen it before, but I've heard someone say that those who practice internal martial arts in the Wulin can release their internal force to the extreme, and then they can practice the so-called outer body incarnation." Of course, Kong Ming had never seen it, so he told the truth. The martial god's true body is the highest realm of internal martial arts. The counterfeit ring's eyes fell on Yang Lan, the horse-level cadre of the Imperial Army. He said proudly with a slightly complacent look on his face, "Those who can practice to this realm are the real experts. At present, in the Wulin, only 4 people can do it. The last one in the Wulin, Li Fan, became a peerless expert. Only he, Imperial concubine Ju, Murong Ying, and Murong Bo knew the martial god's true body. Now that Li Fan even used the martial god's true body, he should win this battle." While the surrounding people were talking about it, the people in the live broadcast room were also ridiculing. Martial god's true body? How could there be such a thing in fighting? These self-proclaimed martial artists are too good at bragging, aren't they? Chapter 1235. You are too good at bragging. Yes. The martial arts of China are profound. How do you know it doesn't exist? Are you an idiot? How can you believe that? I only admire Tyson in fighting. The comment section was in an uproar. Many people didn't believe in the martial god's real body. But at this moment, the primordial chi flowing out of Li Fan's body slowly condensed. Soon, a girl wearing the flying dragon armor stood behind him. "Hey! What is that? Damn! So cool! Special effects! 66666. Mantis shrimp, let's go." At the same time, the fake ring was very excited. As a professional martial arts critic, This was the first time he had seen such a scene. Amazing. So amazing. Is this the internal martial arts? Yes, this is the martial god's real body. Yang Lan was even more proud of herself, as if she had used the martial god's real body. Consider yourselves lucky today. You've opened your eyes. This was a battle authorized by the government. Not only for the others, but also for Yang Lan. It was extremely lucky to be able to see this fight with her own eyes. Was this the last song of the martial arts world? Good. The audience has seen it. Li Fan has used the so-called martial god's real body. I wonder how effective it is. Can it end Takeda's winning streak? In the voice of the Fake Rings live broadcast, Li Fan's martial god true body had completely stood up, more than 4 meters tall. In addition to the flying dragon armor on her body, her left arm was completely a dragon claw, emitting a faint cold air. Good. I didn't come in vain. Takeda was overjoyed. I never thought that I would be able to see the top martial arts of China in my lifetime. Small fourth movement, dragon subduing sword. Li Fan stood there with her arms crossed. The flying dragon goddess raised her right hand. The surrounding soil flew up and quickly condensed into a 1-meter-long mud sword in her palm. Li Fan stretched out her hand and pointed at Takeda. The goddess also threw her hand, and the mudstone sword instantly flew out of her hand, stabbing towards Takeda. Ha! Takeda did not panic. He leaned to the side and avoided the attack of the mudstone sword. At the same time, he slashed with his right hand, directly splitting the mud sword into 2. Without the support of vitality, the treasured sword turned back into soil and scattered on the ground. On the other hand, Li Fan did not expect this move to be able to subdue Takeda. The goddess directly stretched out her hand, raised a black dragon ice palm, and slapped it down on Takeda. Righteous fist. Takeda also took a step forward and once again unleashed a seemingly ordinary straight punch, bringing with it an astonishing fist aura that collided with the goddess' profound dragon ice palm. Bang! The surrounding ground cracked open once more. This small courtyard was hit several times in a row. This time, Takeda was knocked back 3 steps. Finally, he used his foot to step on the ground. Half of his foot had sunk into the ground. Only then did he stabilize his body. Li Fan controlled the Valkyrie and stretched out his hands at the same time, forming 2 dragon subduing swords. Take his life while he's down. Before Takeda could completely stabilize his body, 2 swords made of mud stabbed towards Takeda. Under the sunlight, the 2 swords cut through the morning light. In Takeda's eyes, these 2 sword shadows were reflected. This time, the left and right paths were blocked. It was very difficult for Takeda to dodge again. However, he was, after all, a grandmaster from Japan. Almost in an instant, he swung his leg out and whipped one of the swords, kicking the sword that was thrusting at him askew. It flew out and hit another sword. With a clang, the 2 treasured swords flew out at the same time and slashed at each other. Li Fan, on the other hand, had the Valkyrie use her dragon catcher hand to pull back the 2 dragon subduing swords and release them again. Takeda was a master of offense, but he was also a master of defense. His footsteps were steady, and his hands continued to strike the dragon subduing sword away. Although the dragon subduing sword's attack was very fierce, it was still blocked by him one after another. Even Li Fan could not help but admire Takeda's strength. Even if he used the martial god true body, he still could not do anything to him. Kid, you're too interesting. Come, take my fist. Takeda suddenly stepped forward, his body covered in a thin blue light. At this moment, Li Fan felt that Takeda seemed to have a terrifying energy circulating within him. This energy had already surpassed the scope of a human being. I'll show you my fists that are tempered by volcanoes. As Takeda quickly approached, the blue light on his body suddenly changed, burning into a red light. Takeda's right fist suddenly turned incomparably red, followed by a ball of flames, and directly punched at Li Fan. Volcano level, righteous fist. This punch was incomparably ferocious, like a real volcano eruption. Meanwhile, Li Fan's Valkyrie had already charged forward, similarly using his strongest palm technique, Mystical Dragon Ice Palm. Bang! Their fists and palms collided, but this time, Li Fan's Valkyrie was shattered by the power of his fists. Holy shit! Li Fan took a step back, looking at the scattered light around him. Takeda's volcano-level fist was actually not outstanding at all. It was completely based on his powerful strength. This was like a heavy cannon that was fired at Li Fan. Aya, Li Fan's martial god true body is shattered. Is he not Takeda's opponent? This is a big crisis. The pseudo-ring opened the comment mode again, and the live broadcast room was also flooded with comments. Can this Li Fan really do it? It's really just a special effect. It was destroyed by his fist. What a waste. How can he represent China to compete like this? Is he here to freeload? Kong Ming was fine, he did not know Li Fan. However, as Li Fan's opponent, Yang Lan could not help but want to explode when she saw these comments. Is there something wrong with these people? Do they know Li Fan? Li Fan is known as the little overlord of the martial arts world. If he can't represent China to fight, who can? He didn't expect that one sentence from him would provoke even more ridicule in the bullet screen. That's it. How dare he call himself the little overlord? He's more like a little bastard. Who is this Yang Lan? Who is he? They're all a bunch of trash. Even my dog is more powerful than them. Yang Lan was about to explode. Motherfucker, these bastards. If they dared to say this in front of him, Yang Lan would have given them a slap. Ahem, there will always be keyboard warriors. The pseudo-ring lowered his voice and tried to persuade Yang Lan. Then, his voice became louder. The two of you, now that Li Fan's martial god true body has been destroyed, what do you think of the next situation? This poor monk can't do anything. Kong Ming could not understand it anymore. Li Fan has not lost yet. A bunch of idiots. Watch before you talk. Yang Lan's attitude was extremely bad. Then, let's wait and see. The pseudo-ring turned his gaze back to the courtyard. Chapter 1236. Takeda, you are indeed very strong. Li Fan retracted his martial god true body and looked at Takeda in front of him. Sure enough, I can't underestimate the heroes of the world. Takeda's volcano-level fist technique, 1 strength to overcome 10 intelligence, actually broke my martial god true body. You have already made me very happy. Takeda raised his fists and looked at Li Fan. Next, I will use this fist to defeat you, to show my respect for you. With that, Takeda raised his blazing fists and walked towards Li Fan step by step. He took a few steps forward and suddenly sped up. His whole body suddenly appeared in front of Li Fan and at the same time, punched towards Li Fan's cheek. The scarlet fist has already arrived in front of Li Fan. The strong burning sensation made Li Fan feel a slight sting. This fist seems to be able to kill Li Fan in a second. Many people can't bear to look at it, seemingly thinking that Li Fan is dead for sure this time. But at this time, Li Fan suddenly stretched out his left hand and directly blocked Takeda's fist. Bang! The flame exploded. Li Fan's left hand emitted black smoke. The skin on it is constantly being burned, but it is only a slight burn. Takeda's pair of experienced eyes can't help but reveal astonishment. Others may not know, but Li Fan understands. Although his left hand still looks like a human arm, in fact, it is no different from a dragon's claw. This degree of heat is still bearable. Sorry, I haven't used my strength yet. Li Fan smiled. Takeda immediately took a step back, pulling away from Li Fan. Li Fan's body slowly emitted a white radiance, little by little wrapping his body. Martial god true body is indeed my country's divine skill, but there is even more powerful, the second stage of martial god true body. As Li Fan spoke, he converged the white light on his body. Come, open your eyes. Li Fan's body was covered in a flying dragon armor, and his entire body was emitting a formidable power, causing Takeda to be secretly shocked. On the other hand, the viewers in the livestream channel were bombarded with bullet screens once again. All kinds of special effects. It won't be ineffective again, right? Fuck, what a cool armor. They're all just for show. I reckon they're going to get beaten up by that island again. There were already 1 million people in the live broadcast room. This huge number of views made Counterfeit Ring extremely happy. As for whether Li Fan could win, it was no longer important to him. Today's broadcast was too successful. In the future, even if he didn't work at Wulin Style, he could still make a fortune by opening a live stream. Ha ha ha, I'm rich. In the future, he would reach the pinnacle of life. Strike first and gain the upper hand. As soon as Takeda stepped forward, he arrived in front of Li Fan in the blink of an eye. At the same time, he threw a heavy punch at Li Fan. But Li Fan's feet slipped, stepping beautifully, easily avoiding Takeda's attack. Takeda punched out a few more times, but Li Fan easily dodged them. Every time, he could easily avoid Takeda's attack, not even opening his eyes. Mind eye! Takeda became more and more surprised. The young man in front of him had already brought him many surprises. Looking at his age, he should be in his early 20s. He was so young, yet he possessed such formidable strength. Even if he was a young hero, this was too exaggerated. Could it be that he had been cultivating since he was in his mother's womb? Even Takeda could not help but feel a little jealous at this moment. In the next second, Takeda suddenly noticed that Li Fan's shoulders trembled slightly. Oh no! Takeda Tsuyoshi subconsciously felt that something was wrong. He raised his arms in front of him to protect himself. Bang! Takeda Tsuyoshi's arms sank, and he slid back more than 10 meters, leaning against the wall behind him. His arms were still faintly smoking, and it was obvious that he was hit hard. What is this? Fake Ring was stunned, and the people in the live broadcast room were also puzzled. What's going on? What happened just now? I can't see. Could it be a fake punch? What the hell is this? Refund. The comment section exploded, and the speed of the spam was too fast. Fake Ring felt that his phone was a little laggy. The most shocked was Takeda Tsuyoshi. The speed of Li Fan's punch was too fast, and he actually did not catch it. In the next second, Takeda Tsuyoshi suddenly rolled on the ground. Bang! The wall behind Takeda Tsuyoshi was directly smashed, leaving a deep fist mark on it, directly penetrating the wall. Fuck, there's really a punch. How fast is this fist technique? It's really scary. This kid named Li Fan is not ordinary. The comment section exploded again, and this time, there was a lot of praise for Li Fan. Yang Lan crossed her arms and let out a cold smile. It was normal for a strong man that made the royal guards helpless to display such a standard. What fist technique is this? Takeda Tsuyoshi frowned and asked Li Fan. Supreme Dragon Fist. Li Fan slowly opened his eyes and looked at Takeda Tsuyoshi. You are indeed not bad, to be able to dodge my fist technique. This is too interesting. Takeda Tsuyoshi became even more excited. This is worth fighting. Li Fan. Your strength makes me admire you. I will use all my strength to fight with you. While speaking, Takeda Tsuyoshi's eyes suddenly emitted a red glow, as if his eyes were also burning. Li Fan felt a strong power burning everywhere. Grandpa, Takeda Lan, who was standing at the side, knelt down again, and her face was already covered in tears. Li Fan's heart was also beating wildly. Takeda Tsuyoshi actually started to burn his own life. This old man is really a martial maniac. His obsession with martial arts far surpassed mine. Come, Li Fan, don't disappoint me. Takeda Tsuyoshi laughed loudly and jumped forward, punching at Li Fan. Last volcano. This punch was like a volcano erupting, burning crazily as it suddenly struck Li Fan's body. Bang! Li Fan's body was directly blasted up, and in an instant, he was sent flying more than 10 meters high. Again, Takeda Tsuyoshi bent his knees slightly and then bounced off the ground. In the blink of an eye, he appeared beside Li Fan, and his fists landed heavily on Li Fan's back. Boom! The volcano erupted, and Li Fan's body was heavily smashed into the ground, creating a pit. Li Fan lay on the ground, looking at Takeda Tsuyoshi, who descended from the sky and punched at him. It was like the Grim Reaper was about to descend. Takeda Tsuyoshi, who was burning his life, was already as strong as a martial sage. It was as if he had cultivated his entire life for this moment, for this battle. Seeing the fighting spirit flickering in Takeda Tsuyoshi's eyes, Li Fan felt something in his body burning fiercely. That's right, I cannot disappoint him. This is a battle that belongs to us, it is worth risking everything. Li Fan stood up. Chapter 1237. Although he had suffered a lot of impact, Li Fan still pulled his body out of the pit and stood up. He was wearing a golden flying dragon armor, looking at Takeda who was falling over his head. His eyes also emitted a golden brilliance, like exploding thunder. Ultimate volcano. Takeda's hand chopped down. That momentum, like Pangu splitting the heavens and earth, directly reached the top of Li Fan's head. A strong burning sensation caused Li Fan to be badly battered. But he also gathered his yuan qi, facing Takeda who was falling from the sky. He did not have the slightest fear. He took a deep breath, the dantian in his abdomen was completely activated, powerful yuan qi was continuously mobilized, circulating in Li Fan's body. Little 4 style, War Dragon Roar. Ha! A powerful yuan qi burst out from Li Fan's mouth. Like a stormy sea, it hit Takeda's body. Takeda's falling body was stopped. Li Fan's War Dragon Roar was almost destructive. No matter how strong Takeda was, he was hit by this roar, and then his body flipped in the air, landing on the wall behind him. Amazing. Takeda's life force was burning. He stared at Li Fan, the battle intent in his eyes became stronger, turning yuan qi into sound waves, turning them into weapon. So interesting. Li Fan ignored Takeda. He stretched out his hand, the surrounding soil flew up again, condensing into a palm-sized mud sword in his hand. But Li Fan did not use this sword to attack Takeda, but threw it into the air, letting the mud sword float above their heads. What is the meaning of this? The false ring hurriedly asked. I don't understand. Kong Ming shook his head. This is a threatening tactic. Yang Lan despised the two of them. With this level of skill, they still want to be a commentator. This small sword floating in the air is a threat. It has a strong suppression effect on Takeda. When the two of them are fighting, no one knows when it will stab down, causing fatal damage to Takeda. So that's how it is. Thank you Lord Yang Lan for your commentary. Let us continue to pay attention to this battle. The battle is coming to an end. Yang Lan clasped her hands together and her expression became more and more serious. After all, Takeda's lifespan was not infinite. Are you ready to? Takeda looked up at the sword suspended in the air. That's fine. I'll bet everything on this move. As he spoke, he continued to raise his Chijin, and the scarlet light once again ignited, symbolizing Takeda's strongest combat power. Strongest volcano-level righteous fist. Takeda's fist carried explosive flames, pushing forward layer by layer, and soon arrived in front of Li Fan. Li Fan raised his left hand, emitting a dense cold air. He was also frantically mobilizing his yuan qi, constantly compressing it on his left hand. Second stage, Profound Dragon Ice Palm. With the help of the second stage of the martial god True Body, the power of the Profound Dragon Ice Palm had also increased by a level. Li Fan's palm strike seemed to freeze the air, and the surroundings instantly turned cold. A wave of scorching heat, a wave of frost. Apart from having their horizons broadened, the people present felt uncomfortable. This kind of second heavenly layer really made them feel so comfortable that they could ascend to the sky. Looking at Li Fan and Takeda, the two men's fists and palms collided, the ground cracked layer by layer, gravel flew up and hung in the air. Heat waves and cold air spread in all directions, each wave stronger than the one before. Li Fan and Takeda's faces alternated between red and white, obviously affected by each other's power. Both of them poured everything they had into this attack, not holding anything back. Although Li Fan was not as strong as Takeda, he had the left hand of a dragon and the ice ability of a chosen one. With Yuan Qi as the foundation and the three powers superimposed, he was able to stand up to Takeda. Although he admired Takeda's passion for martial arts, Li Fan could not lose this battle. The mudstone sword that had been hanging above his head for a long time suddenly turned into a bolt of lightning and directly fell down. Takeda and Li Fan were fighting each other's internal energy. The old man was unable to move his feet. This mudstone sword was originally aimed at the top of Takeda's head, but it suddenly turned halfway and stabbed Takeda's shoulder. Bang! As time went by, Li Fan's profound dragon ice palm suddenly erupted. Half of Takeda's body was covered in frost. At the same time, he retreated 3 steps and knelt on the ground. The shockwaves in the courtyard finally stopped, and the energy dissipated. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief, as if they had just walked through the gates of hell. You lost. Li Fan stood there, looking at Takeda Tokishi, who was kneeling in front of him, and said slowly, "That's enough." Takeda Tsuyoshi knelt there, his entire body rapidly aging. However, there was a relieved smile on his face. When everyone looked again, Takeda had already closed his eyes and breathed his last. The old man died of old age. Takeda Lan's face was pale, kneeling beside her grandfather. She endured the pain in her heart and loudly announced, "Thank you Li Fan, Mr. Li, for giving my grandfather a fair and square martial arts competition." Alligado. She bowed to Li Fan, and when she raised her head again, tears were already streaming down her face. Everyone present was shocked, and for a long time, they were speechless. How could they know anything about burning their life? In their opinion, it was Li Fan who killed the old man with one palm, and Li Fan stood there, without saying a word, standing proudly. This martial arts competition, as Takeda Lan said, was fair and square. Since he was the winner, he should be happy. Takeda Tsuyoshi was killed. The fake ring was stunned. He glanced at the barrage and couldn't help but ask. For now. It seems so. Kongming was also confused. This level of martial arts competition was not something he could understand. Then. This is legal responsibility, right? Officer Yang, what do you think? Yang Lan was silent for a moment. The matter was very complicated. The martial artists all understood that Takeda Tsuyoshi finally died by burning his own life force. Moreover, Takeda Lan also announced that her grandfather's death had nothing to do with Li Fan. But in the eyes of others, it was Li Fan who killed Takeda Tsuyoshi. Even if the Chinese government wanted to protect Li Fan, the Japanese government would also put pressure on him, right? Then again, Li Fan was the imperial sword, the guardian of China. Although the top should protect him, but the doves represented by Li Sen would probably take this opportunity to suppress Li Fan in one fell swoop, making him unable to turn over. After all, this was Li Sen's goal. Regardless of whether Li Fan won or lost, they could take advantage of the situation to get rid of him. Looking at Li Fan's victorious attitude, even Yang Lan could not help but admire him. But what was Yang Lan's identity? A cadre of the Imperial Army. What was the purpose of the Imperial Army? Was to defeat people like Li Fan. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.